Warning: this program may contain explicit language that may be considered offensive or inappropriate to children and some adults.
The following content is intended for mature audiences only.
Hello and welcome to Talk It Out, where we talk it out. My name is Duryea Rashad, and I'm so happy to be with you all today. It's Thursday, time to turn up with Talk It Out. Thursday, turn up, talk it out. That's alliteration for your ass. So, if you haven't been to Talk It Out before, Talk It Out is a space where people of opposing viewpoints can get together and have a healthy and productive dialogue in a respectful way. Keeping in mind that it's not always about proving who's right and who's wrong. Sometimes it's simply about listening and being heard. Now, before we get into things, a little housekeeping. I need you all to head over to YouTube, wherever you're watching it. Even if you don't watch it on YouTube, go to YouTube right now to Nelly Media's channel. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell. Also, leave us a comment there. This is going to drive up our views so that we can mess with that algorithm and get to more viewers. We're trying to grow the Talk It Out family, so please head over to YouTube. Wherever you are, just like the video and then come back wherever you want to watch it, okay? Also, take this moment to go ahead and share this video with your friends, your family. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, wherever you are, share it so we can get a big audience tonight, because we got a lot of topics to talk about and I want as much audience interaction as possible. Let us know what you want to talk about in the comments on current events. We may talk about it, we may not. We have a lot of stuff to cover. All right. So, also reminding you, if you would like to be a panelist, make sure you hit us up, admin@wonellymedia.com, and let us know. We'll get you on a future panel. We have someone who messaged me, and you might be watching right now, and I promise I'm going to get to you. I'm going to get you on the show. All right. So now we can go into our panelists. First returning panelist is a chief mother of the James tribe, an avid reader, and a K-drama enthusiast. Please welcome back T to Talk It Out. But tonight, she's not just T, she's positivity.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I love the name change. It's everything.
I got inspired.
Dope. Next, let's bring in a associate broker from a local real estate firm, an Asian American who grew up from the other side of the tracks. PJ understands how important the comfort and security of having a home is and actively engages his community and his industry in promoting fair housing. And for the better part of 2 decades, he and his wife have called Georgia home. His blog is the PJ Vong, that's VONG.blogspot.com, Twitter at the PJ Vong. Mr. PJ Vongsavong. How you doing, PJ? You're muted, but you seem enthused.
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's been an amazing week, and it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too. Oh, you said T.
Oops. Duryea, it's good to see you too.
Thank you.
Hey,
That's thank you. Next, let's bring on James. Actually, no, before we do that, you wanted to talk about your meeting today. Can you talk about it really quick?
I will do my best. So basically yesterday, kind of out of the blue, I got a phone call from the chief of police for the Columbus Police Department, basically wanting to engage the Asian American community and create a dialogue. And we were able to meet today, and Esther learned.
Is he just frozen for me, or is he frozen for everybody?
Opportunity.
It's frozen for me too.
Okay. You're freezing, PJ. During your epic story.
It's fine on my end. But here's where things left off today. The chief agreed to have an Asian American officer volunteer to act as a liaison so that we can begin to put together like a community ambassador program.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's dope.
This is one step at a time, right?
Let's just hope these steps stay consistent, people in power. All right. Next, let's bring on James Myers. James Myers is a well-traveled Army veteran turned English teacher. He's an avid reader and a Toastmaster enthusiast. He's not a big social media person, but he's always happy to be here. Welcome back to Talk It Out, James.
Great to see you, Duryea.
How are you doing?
Awesome. Guess what?
Chicken butt.
I guess so.
That's always the answer.
No, I'd say Duryea. So I do this strangest thing now. I teach 15-year-olds who have no energy, but the hour before I teach 15-year-olds, I teach 7-year-olds. So I go straight from head, shoulders, knees, and toes to... and it is super fun.
You did that to yourself. I don't know. Listen, every teacher, I feel like I stand by this forever. Teachers are the unsung heroes of the world. Period. Point blank.
But
All
know,
right.
Peace.
Next, let's bring in Tardy for the party. Oh, and she's not on camera, so I'll wait to bring her on too. Tardy for the party and not on camera. So, I guess we will move on to... Is that... Oh, there she is. Okay, great. So... Let's bring in Sam, an Atlanta born and bred with two beautiful daughters. She's an edibles business called Marley Bears that focuses on making THC-infused gummy bears. She's also a realtor. We have like a bunch of realtors on the program tonight. She's the go-to agent for Atlanta real estate market. Before getting into real estate, she was an educator and founded the dance department at a local Atlanta charter school, KIPP Atlanta Collegiate. Besides her interest in cooking, real estate, and dance, she loves the water and is a mermaid at heart. Welcome back to Talk It Out, Sam. And you're frozen.
Hey guys, I'm so excited to be. Oh, great. Still?
Just a little laggy. Keep going.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited about this topic.
I'm excited too. Okay. Now let's bring in some of our new panelists. First, it's another friend from good old North Atlanta High School, which I saw in a movie the other day. Weird. I was watching this movie. I was like, "Is that North Atlanta?" It definitely, which is not North Atlanta anymore. It's Sutton now. So yeah, so it's weird. But this is an artist, a model, a writer, CEO, and creator of Above Restricted Thoughts, and also another Atlanta realtor. Please welcome Al Brandios to Talk It Out. What's up?
What's going on? Good to see you, man. How you been?
Good to see you too. I'm doing well. It's a whole Atlanta reunion right now.
Right.
Nice. Okay. Our next new panelist is Amanda Daniel Monroe, who studied stereotyping and implicit bias in grad school. She currently works as a D&I consultant and has a podcast called Speak Your Truth Now. Speak Your Truth Now is about speaking out and having hard conversations in America. Please welcome to the Talk It Out, Amanda Daniel Moore. Hey.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Thanks to Megan for making this thing happen too.
For sure.
All right. And our final panelist is Mark. I'm going to say his last name wrong, so I'm going to wait for him to get here and let him say it. Mark is a far-right founder of the newly minted United Revolutionary Workers Party, stands for social justice, fair wages, strong unions, affordable health care, and education. A right-winger wants affordable health care? Oh, we're going to talk about that.
European.
And an unrestricted Second Amendment. Unrestricted. See, the dichotomies. I love it. And into the Federal Reserve, returning control of the money supply to the federal government rather than a privately owned bank. A strong nuclear family with things like special loans for newlyweds and proper sex ed at schools. We need to have a whole show about this entire paragraph. And simplified, fair immigration laws hinging on a two-tier immigration system. Finally, his party promotes strong cultural understanding between Christianity and Islam. What about the other religions? He knows about stereotyping because he's part Middle Eastern and also grew up in an adopted Jewish household. Please welcome Mark to the show. And can you pronounce your last name?
Bauermeister.
Bauermeister.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually from Dutch Beermeister.
Beermeister.
Beermeister. Beer, like it's British people in South Africa, Beermeister.
Well, that's dope. Okay, so we got a lot to cover tonight. We have all kinds of stuff that happened this week to talk about. But first, before we do that, I want to give you guys a short peek at the newest live stream to hit Whoa Nelly Media airwaves called Sippin' Kiki. Sippin' Kiki is going to be pop culture digest. We're going to talk about everything that the ratchet ghetto-ness hood part of me wants to talk about that just doesn't fit in this show, right? So here's just a little sneak peek.
Good example of a celebrity couple that kind of handles it the way I would is like a Quavo and Saweetie. Like Quavo and Saweetie, we know they date, we know they're together, but I don't feel like...
No, here's the issue with that. Here's the thing about that comparison. Quavo is in a different kind of love with Saweetie. And you can tell, like, when they're together, I was watching this thing where she was asking him questions and he was answering the questions. And I was like, oh, this nigga love her. He loves Saweetie. Like, every time he answered, like, he was basically like, he was like a little kid looking at this woman like, that. So that's different. Like, that kind of love is rare. That kind of love where you sit here like you've been with a woman, you've been intimate with a woman, and you still are like shy with her. But I think because they're really in love, but there's no pretense. There's
authentic.
It's authentic.
That was an ad for Singing in the Rain, which opened the outdoor theater festival, Theater Under the Stars at the Springer Opera House. Tickets are available now, and their second show just opened. They're going to be playing it in rep, which means one will be in the morning, night, so you have 2 shows a day on the weekends to go see SpringerOperaHouse.org. The other clip was from Sip and Kiki. The reason I played that clip was because we thought it was funny that we had that conversation, and now Saweetie and Quavo are getting they're breaking up. So, awkward sauce. All right. Come and tune in to us on Sunday at 10 o'clock and see the other half of that conversation. All right, so we're going to start talking about our current events. And I was kind of hoping, we lost 2 panelists in the commercial break. I don't know how that happened. But when they get back, we'll talk about this. So we're going to show a little video. We're going to start light today, okay? Now, I saw this video and I was like, we have to discuss this on current events. So we're going to watch the video and then I'm going to ask y'all a question. All right, here we go.
You can leave. No, I don't have to leave. That dress you're wearing, we've just scored.
Let's calm down.
You're not going to ruin my day. You are not going to say my son has flaws.
Wow.
Everybody has flaws, and that's why I love them. You can leave, Judy. Like you don't have flaws.
You can leave.
You can get out of my wedding now. I'm not leaving. That dress you're wearing, I paid for. I'm a video. Try it, and I'll have you arrested. Tony, get her out of here. This is not right.
This is not. Respect the wedding.
I'm not leaving.
Just hold your
You
peace.
show respect.
Like
You let your daughter know.
So that video was called Karen Objects at Her Son's Wedding. That's what the title of the video was. And so when I saw it, I was like, let me watch this. And then I was just like, because, they always ask if you would object. And I don't. So the question I want to pose to y'all is either as a parent or as a child, would you oppose at your child's wedding? And if you're the child and your parent did oppose, would you do like he did and tell his mother to leave the wedding? Let's have that conversation. And I actually want to start out with Al Brandios because I just have a feeling. He's about to say some crazy shit. So please.
I feel like if you was gonna oppose, you should have did it prior to the wedding. Don't come in here messing stuff up because you want to be ghetto. Like, yeah, I would ask you to leave or had security take you out. But mama or not, like, you're not about to mess up my big day. You're not about to mess up my wife's big day. No, that's not happening.
So who out here would absolutely object? Nobody? Lies.
Object.
Oh, you missed the video. So basically, this lady.
I saw some of it.
I guess during the vows, the daughter mentioned that the son had flaws. And the mother didn't like that. And basically said, you're not going to say my son got flaws on national internet or whatever, right? And start kirking at the wedding. And so the question was raised, would you object at your child's wedding? Or at a wedding in general at all?
Well, first of all, if that's what set you off to object at a wedding, there's already bad blood there. Let's be clear. Like that was not just something she did because she was like, oh, everyone has flaws and I accept your flaws or whatever. No, there was bad blood there.
Between the mother and the daughter. So maybe she already objected. before this.
Hey,
That's messing around with me. She wouldn't have got an invitation.
Well, all I'm saying is, yeah, duh. She already objected. Ain't nobody gonna object over something like that if they didn't already object to it. Like, let's be clear. You know what I'm saying?
Point out, the fact that the husband or the soon-to-be husband just stood there.
Was passive.
I didn't play the whole video because it's long. He didn't just stand there. After a while, he literally turned to his mother and told her to leave.
It shouldn't have gotten that far.
Okay.
I think he was trying not to upset the wife too much. He was trying to be like, okay, move along.
What do you do, though?
If the pastor or the preacher asks if anybody objects, I feel like that's a fair question. So if somebody has enough nerve to stand up and do it,
they shouldn't have been invited.
But I will say, I agree with Sam. There was drama there, and I'm pretty sure they're going to go through a couple of divorce attorneys.
I feel like it. Now the thing about it was, at the very end of the video, I didn't play. Let me see if I can play it really quick. Yeah, so let me see.
Heidi, you think like that. Heidi, go and sit down.
What have you chosen today?
Hands in pockets.
So at the very end of the video, you saw that little embrace. I think the embrace was important. Because in that moment, like, I think about it like, if that was me in that moment, I would have wowed the fuck out, let's be honest. But if I managed to be as calm as they were, my thought would be only like, let's salvage this day. Because you got a lot left after that. You got Let's Kiss the Bride. Then you got the reception. Hopefully the hotel, the hunt. You have all that stuff. You don't want it, So I think when you're actually in that moment, you're going to do your best to keep that happiness. And once you engage and get mad and hyphy, that's gone. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why he didn't kirk on his mom.
If I may, Santasha's got a really great comment here, right?
What's Santasha say?
She said, "Wait, why would mom pay for the dress if she didn't approve? Because mom wants drama, and something tells me that that's probably a normal thing for the whole family."
Well, you saw how somebody really got up in her face. Somebody wanted smoke. That one lady was like, "Bro, I'll knock you out." And then the lady said, "Do it, and I'll call the cops."
The other mom.
Yeah, other mom was like, "Look, I'll fuck you up in this wedding room real quick. Don't do that."
Well, I love my mother-in-law. She's
Megan. The pastor didn't ask. This objection happened when
at the
wife said something about flaws in the vows, and the mom just lost it. So the pastor actually didn't ask. But that's a good point. What you saying, T?
I'm saying that's why I'm so glad. I went through a couple, but my mother-in-law is A1, top tier, okay? Like, she don't mince words, and I appreciate that. If she didn't like me from the jump, she would have let me do that from day one of meeting me. Like, yeah, hey, I see you dating my son. I don't like you.
Right.
And then we can proceed from there. Because I would do the same thing for my kids. If my daughter gets with this dude, and I'm like, or my son, if he decides, oh yeah, mom, just the one. I would tell him, and I will make it known, like, hey, baby, don't be calling me your mom. I'm not your mama. I'm his mama. I appreciate you. If there was, because the interaction they had, you could tell something took place before that. Like, something happened that caused that drama. And that wasn't just a simple, I don't like you. That's oh no.
Yeah, because even if she was actually upset by the flawed comment, if there wasn't already tension, she would have just waited to say something later. The fact that she was like, I need to say something right now, yeah, they've been
exactly.
The fact that the groom had his hands in his pocket in that last clip you showed us, proof that he is just whipped.
Oh!
It's like passive retreat posture. You're at your wedding. The second thing I would say is, you can build your guest list with your spouse. If you don't want mom to be there because she's going to cause a scene, then don't invite mom.
Listen, no, I don't know, bro. Like, I'll be honest. I think I'm luckier than, like, my mama's going to kill me for everything I'm about to say. I'm luckier than my brother because, I'm more likely to marry a dude than a woman. My brother's going to marry a woman. And I feel like my mom's not going to have as many problems with whoever I end up with as she's going to have with whoever he ends up with because of that reason. I'm gonna just say that, right? I feel like moms they're hard on the daughters. Like you would think it's the fathers that are hard on the son-in-laws, but I've noticed that it's mothers who are so hard on their daughter-in-laws. They will test you. They'll do little conniving shit, and I'm just like, So to me, if you decided not to invite your mother to the wedding, your mother would make it her mission to ruin your life. And my
mother-in-law is amazing. I don't know what kind of women these people who raise these people.
Let's hear from let's hear from Amanda, one of our new panelists. Amanda, what do you have to say about all this?
I have a really good relationship with my mother-in-law. Okay. I have a really good relationship, so I can't really speak to that, but
not on camera.
Yeah. No, it's all good. You see stuff like this all the time. People don't know how to act. So not surprising.
Mark, did you want to chime in before we move to our next topic?
No, I don't really have anything to say to that topic.
Okay.
I kind of missed my chance of getting married because, my ex cheated on me.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good thing, though, because that means you figured it out before you were married. You know?
I would have taken it back anyways. I love her still, but yeah, sucks.
All right, so Lil Mama. Okay, before I even go into Lil Mama and my issues with Lil Mama, I actually have some stats for everybody, okay? So I'm going to read some stats, then we're going to talk about Lil Mama. So there have been 13 trans or non-binary murders this year already, right? And a lot of people, when they hear that number, it's like, oh, that's not a big number, right? Now, that means that one person who is trans or non-binary is dying every 5.8 days. And that is only including the people that they identify as trans and non-binary. When you look at how many people are misgendered upon their deaths, meaning their families don't list them as trans, they list them as their birth gender, or the murders that aren't, the people that aren't found, the number is actually probably significantly higher. A lot of these people are misgendered after their death. And then you have, sorry. So recently, I'm just going to give you two examples. This girl named Rayana Pardo was hit by a car after being pushed into traffic while an angry mob followed her down the street, accosting her. She was walking with her boyfriend who pushed her into the street because people were accosting them, and she got hit by a car. And then there's another girl, I'm going to say her name wrong. It's spelled A-S-Y-A, so I'm going to say Asia Sayahir. Sorry, I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I'm sorry. Who was blinded by her ex when she left her house. She walked out of her house and he threw acid on her face. And she lost one of her eyes. And what's worse about it is the story wasn't just about what happened to her. The story was about, she's in Turkey. And in the hospital in Turkey, they're treating her badly. Like when she asked to use a phone, they gave her a phone, but they wrapped it in plastic before they would let her use it. And so her friends and family are worried about leaving her there alone and what will happen to her. And I'm just saying these things to help people understand, like, the issue with misgendering people, like, with everything, but also just misgendering people, the violence that they encounter. I read a stat today that said, I think it's like 5 times more often, like, trans people are met with 5 times more violence than a cisgender heterosexual counterpart. So, having said all that, Little Mama has the nerve to decide that she wants to have a straight pride. Or some sort of straight anti-bullying thing. I forget what it's called. But maybe somebody knows what I'm talking about. Basically, she says that there needs to be protections for people like her against being bullied by trans people. And the bullying she's talking about is essentially that trans people are calling her out for problematic things that she does/says. For instance, while she was judging a national dance competition, there was a trans woman on the team, and I don't know what this had to do with dance. She just took it as a point in time during the coaching to remind this trans woman that she was not a woman on national TV. And these are things that are just incredibly problematic. So I want to talk about it. Let's talk about how you feel about the prospect of a straight pride and protections for straight people against bullying at the hands of LGBTQ people? James?
People at the margin are always targeted by people from the mainstream. And so we saw this with the gay rights movement from the 1890s all the way until 2012.
Okay.
And now that the gays have been accepted in Cortland, built into society, they have moved on to a new target. And that new target is the trans population. And we see this trans movement growing as people realize that it's okay to be something other than gay or straight. But it makes people uncomfortable, and when you make people uncomfortable, they get scared.
Right.
And when people get scared, they get defensive, and when they get defensive, they get angry. And when they get angry, unless it's checked, they get violent.
But my question is like, all of that I agree with. My question is though, like, why do you feel that as a straight person that you need protections from LGBTQ people? Like, I'm trying to figure out
simple answer
from somebody, like helping me make it make sense. Like, other than, because do I think Lil Mama's doing? Granted, it's Lil Mama, so she very well may just be doing it to have her name in the headlines. Let's be clear, you know. But let's say that's not. Let's say, for instance, somewhere in her brain she really feels this way. Like, what would make her feel this way? That okay, wait. Okay, we got hands. So let's go PJ and then Albrandios.
The only thing I really got to say about this is it's reinforcing the notion that there's a gay or a trans agenda, right? And so it's creating this narrative that straight people are being attacked based on that agenda, when we know there's no agenda. It's just that gay and trans people don't want to be killed in the streets. That's
okay.
The agenda. Right?
The agenda is like to not die.
Community, we the Asian American community, we share the same fucking agenda. Then
most people should share that damn agenda. But all right, Albrandios.
I think heterosexual people are starting to be looked at as weird. Like, you know, real. Like, I've had somebody come at me before, like you're not into guys, and I'm like, no, hey, and he was looking at me like, what's wrong with you? And I'm looking at him like, what's wrong with you? So I feel like it's switching. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight people are looked at as strange, and this is like gay is the new normal.
Well, okay, I want to comment on that. It's interesting you say that, because I personally feel like normal is not a thing at all. Normal is a pretend notion that we've come up with, status quo. Like, what's normal? Well, some people would say being white is normal, but my black ass is like, absolutely not. It's not normal. It's not like it's abnormal. It's just not normal. Like, there is no normal race. You could say there's a majority but I think the majority race would be, I want to say, Indian people, right?
Chinese.
There's like it's either India or Chinese has got like 1 billion people, right? One of those countries. Anyway,
population.
Yes. So I'm saying, like, so technically Chinese people would be normal if you just go by majority, but I don't think that's even a thing. I think that when we think about normal, those are conventions. Like, it's normal to have a wife and 2.5 kids and a garage, but how many people can afford a fucking garage? Let's be honest. The garages are expensive, and so are 3 kids. Put your hand down, Tia. Nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? My point is, like, I get what you're saying. I think what you're saying, like, I see what you're saying, Albrandios. It's like, okay, at one point, that was normal, heterosexuality. And so, coming from a place where you were the norm, and that was accepted as regular, and then having people look at you being like, you know, what the hell? I get that that's uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean you're being bullied. So, okay.
I never said I was being bullied. I just gave the example.
I didn't mean you. I was talking about her. I'm talking about Lil Mama. Yeah. I think T wanted to go, and then Mark.
I'll keep it short because we've had this conversation before. I'm not saying she went about it the right way, but I at least on a very basic level, understand what she's saying, because any opposing view that goes against what seems to be inclusive or or excluding a group of people is considered then bullying. And it's like, I might not agree with it, but I am not bullying you. I just don't agree with it. But, and I've even noticed in the comments that when I disagree with something in a non-aggressive manner, then it's like, you're a bully, you didn't. And it's like, hey, me personally, at my house, I just don't agree with it. But it's your life and do you. So on a very basic level, I understand what she's saying. And
I knew you was going to understand. I was so hoping that you didn't understand this one time.
I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying I understand that it has kind of sort of become like, well, if you don't agree with me, you're bullying me. And those two things are not synonymous. They're separate.
Okay. Mark?
Well, I'm super straight and I support all my super straight, super gay, and super bi brothers and sisters. Men are men, women are women, black and orange are our colors. Super straight power.
What's bad about everything he just said is like, I don't know how for real he is with that shit he just said, or I'm just like, okay. But, you know, okay, I can't just leave that there. I just can't. So, you're super straight, and you mean that in all sincerity?
Yeah, it means that I only like vaginas, not just vaginas.
Guess what that's called?
Super straight.
Being straight.
No, there's articles on the internet about...
Here's the thing. So here's the thing. Okay, the issue with super straight is... The issue that straight people who decide to become super straight have is with other straight people who accept trans people as the gender that they identify with. If I'm a straight person and I do not see a trans person as a woman or a man, even though they are, if I don't see that, that's fine. That doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean anything about you. You're fine being straight. Now, the problem is this. You want to tell another straight person who sees a trans woman as a woman that somehow makes them gay. So the idea of super... Huh?
Makes them straight.
Okay. But my thing about it is like this.
Super straight.
But when you have this whole... Why would you build an entire sexuality based off of trans people? That's literally the only... Your whole sexuality is based off of a group of people who you won't be into. Like, you know what I'm saying? Your orientation is all based around trans people who you claim not to be interested in.
There's 50 sexualities, and there's a sexuality where people are only into trans.
What's that called?
Let me Google it. Wait.
Please look that up. Okay. PJ?
Honestly, what I would love to hear, I want to hear Mark's viewpoint, especially if he could tell how he differentiates between straight and super straight.
Okay.
I mean, there's an opportunity to hear.
Let's talk it out then.
Somebody who believes this.
Let's talk it out. Can somebody give me an Ambien? A Percocet, please. If you feel like, if you want to expound, you can expound.
Okay.
Because PJ wants to know more.
Okay. So there's articles on the internet that straight people are transphobic if they don't like a female penis.
No. No.
Article. There's articles on the internet. There's plenty of articles on the internet.
Okay, so here's the I'm sorry, just listen, Jerry. Go ahead.
That's literally the reason that fucking thing came up, the whole super straight thing. There's articles on the internet.
Okay. Lord Jesus, this is happening.
Mark, please,
yes, PJ, run with it.
A straight person from a super straight person. I'm legitimately asking. I'm not trying to trap you or catch you in the corner. I want to hear.
No, it literally came about because there's articles on the internet about straight people not being transphobic if they don't like a female penis or a male vagina. And so a guy on the internet on what's it called, TikTok, he made up super straight.
But see, there's so many issues with that. Here's the bunch of the issues. I can't, PJ. I can't. Here's the issues with that. So super straight, if you really dig into the history of super straight, was a plot. There's actually evidence online of before that guy came out with the video, there's a group of people in a Reddit chat who created super straight. There's evidence of them debating the colors of the flag, debating the symbols on the flag, all of this is on the internet. And the goal of Super Straight was literally to cause dissension amongst LGBTQ people and have us infighting over what our definitions are. And that is on the internet too. So when you do that research, make sure you find that too. So it's not like this guy just came up with it. This was something that they plotted weeks before this dude came out with this video. So, and there's evidence to that. So even besides that, it's also, you have to look at it like this. If you actually talk to trans people, a lot of them don't consider you transphobic if you're not into their genitalia, because genitalia is a very large part of attraction. So if you are a pre-op transgender person, I don't even know if that's the right terminology, but then if you're a pre-op transgender person and you're not, and a straight person doesn't want to have be sexually intimate with someone who doesn't have the genitalia that they prefer, that's not transphobic. But if you're looking at a person who has everything, they were just born a different gender, and the only thing that separates you from being interested in that person is just the knowledge that they were born a different gender, that's latent transphobia. But we disagree on that all across this panel. Like, Sam doesn't agree with that, T doesn't agree with that, Albrandis, and that's fine, we don't have to agree. But I'm just saying, like, if another straight person feels that way and you don't have to create a whole new sexuality to tell that guy that, you know.
I just found the name of the sexuality we're only attracted to trans people.
What's it called?
Scoliosexuality. Scoliosexuality is the attraction to people who are transgender or non-binary. People who have transgender identity as a gender different from the ones they were assigned at birth.
Okay, I'm about to look it up. I'm gonna do my research on that too. Okay, James.
So I found an article on the internet. It says that super straight is cisgender people who are only attracted to cisgender people of the opposite sex. Strictly. Right. So there's no deviation. And then you look for the source of this term, and it says it was traced back in 2017 to a stand-up comedy routine by transgender woman Robin Tran, who jokingly described men who were willing to date transgender women as super straight because they were so attracted to women they didn't care what kind of women they were fucking.
That's funny. Okay, so okay, but let's okay.
Called 19 and hormonal.
I feel like the super straight thing is a whole, like, we could have a whole show about that, and I really want to. But the reason I brought this up is because I wanted to have a conversation about the trans bullying and and like this idea that, like, because for me it's like a thing that people who, I don't want to say empower, but straight people, white people, like the people who have like power over another group, they do when that group that they have a power over is trying to like get out from under their power, right? So to me, this whole thing, Little Mama saying that she's being bullied, to me it feels like another example of trans people, gay people finally saying it's not okay to talk shit about me like y'all did for the, like, because everybody knows, like, I've been in rooms with people who didn't know I was gay. So, and I heard the shit that they said, and then I saw how they changed and how they wouldn't say that shit in front of me once they found out. So I'm like, if you thought it was okay to say before, why isn't, oh no, it's not cool that I said that. So you knew it wasn't cool when you fucking said it. You just didn't think you were sitting in front of a gay person. So, you know, it's like, I would have more respect for a person who just honestly didn't know it wasn't cool. It's like, oh, I didn't know that was offensive. But if you know it's offensive, then why do it, right? And it seems like now that people are saying, okay, I don't want those labels on me, and every time somebody says or does something like that, I'm going to say something. You have people like Little Mama, it's like, no, that's bullying, which translates to me as, shut up while I continue to oppress you.
Right.
Please help it make any other kind of sense for me.
You got to have power to oppress.
You think straight people don't have power?
No.
Oh, wait a second.
Here we
wait
go.
a second. Okay.
No, we don't have
That
the
should be
power
a
to
topic on
oppress.
its own.
Well, hold on a second.
You have to be in
I want to say
control
something
for-
about this.
Okay, wait. Let Albrandios finish, and then go ahead, Amanda. Go ahead, Albrandios. Go ahead, say what you're saying.
We don't have enough power to oppress. How can we oppress gay people or trans people?
Well, by murdering trans people in the street. Wait. You saw that there's a video of these two trans women who are in the street of LA, and they're just walking home. And these dudes, like two of them, start beating them senselessly, right? And there's like a crowd of 6 people around them. No one is helping these transgender women. They're literally filming it and going, yeah, you a nigga, fight back. You a nigga. And they're just asking for help, screaming for help. You know what I'm saying? That's how straight people can oppress LGBTQ people.
That's a hate crime.
It is a hate crime. Hate crimes are attached to oppression. But, okay, Amanda and then James. I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just trying to be time savvy.
Yeah, it's really all about like privilege, right? So everybody has privilege in different areas, and let's say the norm is heterosexual. That is a privilege area for you if you're heterosexual. You don't have to go around having to worry about being outed. You don't have to go around being worried about, violence for no reason other than who you're, sexually attracted to. So that's an area of privilege, and that's something that heterosexual people have, whether they want it or not. And everybody has those different areas of privilege, like we talked about, Lil Mama, she is threatened. And when people start to get threatened or feel threatened, then they start to lash out and they want to talk about being oppressed. And I think that is just how human beings are. When people feel like they are no longer in power, or they are no longer the norm, the standard, then this is how they lash out. They try to belittle the marginalized groups. They try to make them the bad guy. Yeah. And so that's what you're seeing playing out here. And so even if you don't see the areas where you have that privilege, you do have it.
It's like, and I like that you attach it to privilege, because I think that's why a lot of people who are oppressive don't know that they're oppressive. I think for me, it really was a conversation I was having with a close friend of mine where I realized, like, I'm sexist low key because I'm a Southern black man. You know what I'm saying? And I was raised to be oppressive to women. Subliminally, I was raised that, like, women aren't supposed to talk to me a certain way, all that other bullshit, right? And it took me realizing that, like, even though I'm black and gay, like, and those are positions of, like, being oppressed, I'm still a man. So I still have privilege. And because I have that privilege, I can be oppressive to women, absolutely. Period. Just by either, like, not letting them speak, or, like, I used to slap girls' asses all the time. All the time. All the time, right? And I used to feel like it was cool because I was on the spectrum, meaning I'm LGBTQ. And I had somebody finally was like, but that's not okay. Like, you're still a man and you still felt like you had a right to my body. And it took me a while to be like, it took me some humility. Let me just say a while. It took me some humility to realize, yeah, I did feel like I had a right to slap your ass and that you shouldn't be. And had they been offended at the time, I would have been like, I would have been all defensive and shit. That's oppression. Like, because for a woman, I walked behind a woman the other day at the gym and she flinched. Now, I told this story to a friend of mine. They were like, do you think it's because you were black? I actually don't think it was because I was black. I think it was because I was a man. I'm a big ass dude who reached behind her and she flinched. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I don't have to worry about. Like, I don't think, like, when people are behind me, like, I look, but I don't think they're gonna, like, do anything to me. But that's a way that in which just my presence alone can oppress a woman who's had to have her head on a swivel in public her whole life. So as a straight person, you may not realize it, but being the only gay person in a room full of straight dudes is terrifying. Because when they find out you're gay, especially when you're somebody like me who can, like, I won't say hide, but I can, like, chameleon kind of, sort of. And so once they find out, I've actually been in spaces where some people, like, found out when I was in jail, let's be honest. When I was in jail, it was one time this dude was like, he just said it in the middle of the pod. Like, when I first met you, I thought you were gay. And in my head, the world stopped. It stopped. And I was like, okay, what are you going to say?
Scary situation.
It's horrifying because it's like, I'm in jail. So I really don't want to lie to these niggas because, like, that's not what you want to do either, right? But then, do I want to tell them I'm gay? And then, so I was like, I'm about to get my ass kicked in 5, 4, 3, 2. So then I said, yep, I am. And what's crazy is he was like, I knew you were. I just wanted to see if you were going to keep it a buck. Whew. But then my cellie was like, wait. But then my cellie was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And everybody looked at my celly like, bro, you know? Like, everybody was like, yeah, we all knew. You know, my point is, there's moments where, like, you have to say that and you don't know how, you would think everybody knows or everybody doesn't know. You don't know how everybody's going to react. And so my celly, he didn't know, but he wasn't tripping about it. He was just like, I just didn't know. But I could have had a celly who was really like, no, you can't be in my cell no more. You got to fight me if you want to stay in the cell. Blah, 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 blah. I could have really been in a fucked up situation. Not because I was hitting on anybody. Not because I was doing anything, just for being this way. You know what I'm saying? And that is oppressive. For a straight person, they don't realize that. They don't realize that. Just having that power, you don't have to do anything to oppress a person. Like, you don't have to actively be doing something to be oppressive to a person. Just the fact that I have to walk in that space with that fear, and then you don't. You don't have to worry about if you're in a group of gay people, if they're going to find out you're straight and then kick your ass. Okay, I see your hand up, Brandios. And then James and then Al Brandios, because he had his hand up first.
Okay, really quickly. So privilege is inherently tied to the society that you are in. You can't have privilege without the context of society. And you can look at the Fortune 500 companies, white America, that's overwhelmingly led by straight, old, white men.
Rich and Christian and straight.
Rich and Christian. Yep. And so within that construct, they don't have to think about women and gay people and brown people and black people. And yet, like, they don't think about that. And that privilege allows them to oppress, be it something conscious or subconscious. And the subconscious discrimination impacts things like equal pay. It impacts things like how you can act in an office culture. And that can be perceived as a form of oppression because if you're not free to be who you are free to feel oppressed. Second point, I pass every day in Korea because it's not okay to be gay here.
Listen, that's another thing. That's what I'm talking about. Like Al Brandios, before I pass it to you, you don't have to think about, as your sexuality, going to another country and being killed because you're straight. That's not a worry that you ever have to adopt. I have to worry about, like, oh, I can't go to that country because they will hang my ass just for being gay. Period. And I think there's only like, I don't know the number, but it's a number of places where they still will kill you for being gay. Not like you can't get married. No, you will die. So go ahead, Albrandios.
So you said something about walking in a room full of straight men and you're the only gay person, you feel terrified. Why is that? Is it some type of insecurity? Because I feel like if you walk in your truth and you are who you are, you're comfortable with who you are. You don't care what others think.
It's not about what they think. It's not about what they think. It's about what they will do. That's the difference. How they think, nigga, like, I'm from Atlanta. Fuck how you think. But at the end of the day, if I'm in a room full of straight people and they decide to kick my ass, my best bet is that I turn into John Wick, or that one of the other straight men in the room or a group of them decide to help me. Because I'm not going to take on a room full of niggas. I can't do it. Unless I turn into John Wick, please. But otherwise, you know what I'm saying? It's not happening. So, like, for me, it's not about how they think. And I'll be honest, I'm lying a little bit. It is about how they think, being that, like, I think about that. But I'm also at the point in my life where I know that's like not a thing to get stuck on, right? But you can't help but to worry, like, you know, if I say, do, feel, act, whatever the wrong way, gay people absolutely get hate crimed just for goddamn being. And that's not something that you have to worry about as Tristan, stop it. That's not something you have to worry about as a straight person. You don't have to worry about, like, being like, oh, damn, you know, these motherfuckers might try to jump me just because I like women. And I'm not saying that just because, but having that privilege means that you're a part of a group of people that do oppress the other ones. So, like, you have straight privilege. You also have male privilege. I don't know. You also have, I don't know if middle class privilege is a thing, but I'm gonna say, but there's other privileges you have, like you have other privileges, right? And as a person with privilege, you have to understand there's people without those privileges, and for those people, they're part of that oppressed group, right?
I think that's everything in life, though. We all have privilege. You have
yes,
because
that's the point.
That's the point. That's the point. And I think that's the thing that's hard about people who aren't the five. When I say the five, I mean white, rich, Christian, heterosexual men. People who aren't that five, they feel like they don't have privilege because, oh, I'm a woman, so I can't have privilege. Or I'm gay, so I can't have... No, you can be a gay white man and you still got privilege because you're white and you're a man. You can be a woman who's Christian and white and heterosexual. You don't have the male privilege, but you have all those other privileges. Everybody has privileges. There are certain spaces that I can walk into that I can exist in a way that you can't, Albrandios, but vice versa too. It's just knowing when you have that privilege and how you utilize that privilege. If you're unaware of your privilege willingly, then you're probably being oppressive, indirectly or directly.
Can we name drop things like O.J. Simpson, who grew up in an entirely white world and so thought that he had privilege or did have privilege because he was the token black boy in his white world.
He did have privilege, though. The privilege that O.J.
he had enormous privilege.
The privilege he had was rich privilege, period. Because
but he's also
like
rich.
Well, I mean, look, if OJ didn't have rich privilege, that motherfucker would be in jail.
Well, he might be out now, but he did go to jail.
Maybe. Killed 2 people. Or allegedly. Okay, so I want to comment on this real quick. Tristan says, I swear going to the barbershop used to give me so much anxiety. As a gay man, there was just a lot to navigate. What's funny is, the whole time I was telling the stories I was telling, I was thinking about the barbershop. That's as an adult male, that's the place that's still most, like, I'm big as shit right now. So I could probably wrestle down like a good 1.5 grown men. 2, if I'm just feeling myself, if I listen to Beyonce on the way, you know what I'm saying? But but in the barbershop, especially when you walk in at like 5 o'clock, peak hours, I be sitting there like this on my phone. It was crazy. I had a conversation. Somebody was talking about Halle Berry, and I got real hypey, and I had to remember halfway through, like, oh no, you're in the barbershop, nigga. Calm down. And that's not a thought that y'all have. So anyway, anyone else want to comment?
Because I saw your comment and listening to your story. Again, as a person who identifies as being a believer in Christ, that makes me so sad, and that makes my heart hurt. Period. Like, regardless of how you choose to live your life, the fact that people don't understand keeping your hands to yourself in disagreement, or we as people really aren't taught how to disagree with something and move on with our lives, that makes me really sad. Because again, that could be any of us on this panel for any given reason. And so just the fact that I hate that you had to have experiences like that. I hate that Tristan had to have experience like that, and I hate that you probably will still have experiences like that. It's just one of those all around sucky things, and no matter how much I may disagree with certain things, nobody should have to be in fear for their life for just existing. Because not too long ago that was us as African Americans, not too long ago that was Asian Americans, not too long ago that was Native Americans. So I mean, it really is a sucky thing every time I listen to the statistics and have to hear about people's experiences for just breathing. Like, I breathed and then somebody pushed me into traffic and I died. And that's how I got here, Lord. That's a horrible thing.
And that's just something that, like, that's why I think about too, like, about privilege in general. That's how I acknowledge my privilege and how I try to not do that to other people. It's like I had a conversation with my mom the other day because I saw this post about like all the stuff women do, like carrying keys in their little knuckles, and not little knuckles, in their knuckles, and I asked my mom, I was like, is this the thing? Because my mom is like super tough, and she's like, have I ever like personally felt it was kind of like a yes and no answer. Like, she was like, I mean, no, because I don't put myself in that situation. And it was crazy because a lot of the stuff she was saying was essentially like all the blame was on her. I need to make sure I don't put myself in those situations. And I'm like, Mama, don't you understand? Like, it don't matter what situation you're in. Ain't nobody allowed to fucking... She's like, I get that, but... And so that's my point, is like, women have to think like that. We don't always have to think about that like sexually. Like, yes, men get raped. I'm not saying they don't, but the fear that women have just existing as women is not the same as a man has, and knowing that like just my presence alone can send someone into just shock it was intense for me. But if you don't know that, then you will be putting that pressure on somebody unwillingly and unknowingly, and that's also, you know, once you know better, you do better. All right, so let's talk about.
Mark has a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
I just want to go back to the sexualities for a bit.
Of course.
Since you talk super straight, why can't it be made up? Is it because it's made up by the wrong group? I'm just going to read a list for a short bit. So there's abrosexual, there's androgynosexual, there's androsexual, there's aromantic, asexual, biromantic, bisexual, heterosexual, demisexual, demoromantic, finsexual, fungosexual, gay, gynosexual, grey romantic.
Sam, fix your face.
There's homoromantic, lesbian, omnisexual, pansexual, panromantic, pomosexual, and polysexual.
Okay.
There's so many different sexualities. Why can't a straight dude make one up?
Okay. I'm gonna be straight with you. See what I did there? Yeah. This is the issue with super straight. It's not that if there's so many issues with it. For one, a group of people who have all the privilege in the world are feigning oppression in order to say, I'm being oppressed by other straight people claiming that they're also straight by liking women with vagina. I mean, who are born a different gender, right? So therefore, I'm going to create a whole different sexuality, but my rhetoric is all transphobic. The rhetoric of being super straight is all about denying the womanhood or manhood of transgender people. So the whole premise of it is transphobic. Also, you have to think about it this. When the super straight thing came out, they came out with a flag, which was clear mocking, because all those things you just listed, all of them don't have flags. The ones that have flags for a reason. So they came out with a flag. Wait.
Have flags, all of them.
Every one of them? Okay, I stand corrected. So they came out with the flag. I still think it was mockery because of the Reddit feed that I read. But okay, if they have flags, I'm going to concede that. But then you have also this. They took LGBTQIA+, the acronym, and put SS in front of it. When every other sexuality that has been added has come after, they put SS in front. That was clear mockery. Like they're doing. You have to, when you look at the whole thing, if it really was about them wanting to be accepted for who they were and not about trashing LGBTQ people, they would move differently. Because other people, that's what the problem is. If you really feel like you want to be you don't want to be challenged because you enjoy a certain gender and genitalia and all that stuff, that's fine. Because most trans people, if you tell them that you're not into them, they're just going to be like, cool, and move the fuck on because there's plenty of people that are into them. If you feel like that, that's fine. But you feeling that way shouldn't come at the cost of publicly accosting, criticizing, ridiculing, mocking another group of people. Like, I don't have to criticize lesbian people to be gay or to be bi. I don't have to criticize pansexual people. Like, I don't have to challenge transgender people to live in my truth. I agree, you should be able to live in your truth, but you shouldn't have to walk over other people's backs to do so. And that's the real issue I think people have with super straight. If it was simply just like, you know what? I'm only into women who were born women, and that was the end of it, cool. Now I need a flag, and I'm gonna make all these posts and all these TikToks, and I'm gonna say as much like harmful rhetoric to piss everybody off as I possibly can, and then I'm gonna claim when they challenge me that they're being oppressive. That's manipulation, and we see that.
It's called gaslighting.
It's gaslighting, yeah, and we see that, and we call it out. So if it's just about your sexuality wanting that to be cool, then move like that. But until your rights start getting taken away, because that's the reason that you would add yourself to the LGBTQIA acronym. Because somehow, you could get denied a loan or adoption or XYZ and all those stuff because you're super straight. When that happens to you, give me a call. Like when somebody goes, oh wait, you're super straight? You can't live here. You're super straight? Oh, we don't accept super straights for adoptions. Then we'll talk. Okay. Did you have anything else anybody want to say on this topic? Okay, so last week we talked about the attack that happened in Atlanta when the gentleman decided to murder 8 people because he quote unquote had a bad day. Then, less than a week later, another man walks into a King Super. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm. King
and unloads his rifle. I'm not sure if it was a rifle. I don't know what weapon it was, but his high-powered weapon, his non-pistol, his non-revolver, into a group of people and took 10 lives. One of the lives just so happened to be a police officer. And, then, just yesterday, another man was found in a Publix in Atlanta with 5 weapons. One's a rifle, one was an assault weapon, that's what they're saying, and the others were pistols, a cache of ammunition, and he was dressed with Kevlar. Now, the interesting thing about the rhetoric, and I'm going to be honest, a lot of it was surprising for me too, which is we can get into later in this conversation about stereotypes. Now, when the video of the man who shot up the King Supers came out, that looked like a white man. Everyone thought he was white. I don't care what you say. Everybody thought that man was white. Period. Like, people would be like, oh, I waited for the evidence to come. No, the fuck you did. You thought that motherfucker was white. Everybody thought he was white. He looked white. And it's not, we didn't think he was white. And everybody thought he was white. We know why. Stereotypes, and we'll talk about it more. But then this dude who was gonna shoot up the Publix is black. So the interesting thing about all this stuff is, oh, he has 6 weapons. Okay, the interesting thing about all this stuff is this. What the fuck? like it's so sad that now that the world is opening back up and we can get back into like the positivity of like going to work and all this other stuff, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Mass shootings were happening all the time. So statistics. We've had over 100 shootings already in over 80 days. 100 mass shootings. I didn't even know we had 100 already. We've already had 100 mass shootings in this calendar year. And the number's clearly only rising. It's funny, I saw a post that Albrandios made earlier in the week, and he said he was talking shit about Democrats. And I'm going to let him say it, but in part of the post, he said something about number of gun mass shootings going up, blaming on Democrats, but no, that's not true. It's like the reason that the shootings went down is because everybody was in the house. Now these people who want to cause mass destruction, I'll let you say what you want to say, but now people want to cause mass. How you gonna have a mass shooting when everybody in the house have Brandios? You gonna go house to house? What you gonna do?
I don't do mass shootings.
Can I? So the government defines.
Wait, let him go first because he was gonna go. Let him go first. And you, James.
So the Democrats are always talking about gun control. So all of a sudden, Biden is in office and we got all these mass shootings. I don't know. When Trump was in office, I didn't hear a lot about mass shootings. But
yes,
now,
you did.
When was the last one?
The last one, I don't know, but there were plenty up until the pandemic. Literally, there's numbers about this.
Well, I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, you would, because didn't Parkland happened with him, right?
When Obama was in office, we woke up to mass shootings, and it's always just conversation about.
Bro, same thing with Bush. The mass shootings aren't party specific. These motherfuckers just be waking up being like, okay, today's the day.
I'm not saying it's party specific, but it just seems like it's a bigger thing when one party is in office versus another. That's all I'm saying. And we go back to we're back on gun control.
And I'll be honest, I'm not a proponent of...
Can we get a fact check on that?
On what?
Happy to fact check.
Like,
okay, James will fact check.
So I want to lay down a couple things first. One, a mass shooting is defined as an incident in which 4 or more people are shot and killed. That is the simple definition. So you don't need something flashy like walking into a supermarket and killing 10 people. 2, there were lots of mass shootings under the Trump administration. Yes, there were less during the pandemic, but that's because everyone was on lockdown and they couldn't leave their houses. We had the Sutherland Springs shooting at a church in Texas. We had the Parkland shooting. There were 10 people shot at a high school in Santa Fe in 2018, 11 in a synagogue in Pittsburgh, 12 in Thousand Oaks, California, November 18, 12 in an office building in Virginia Beach in 19. 22 in a Walmart in El Paso in 2019. So there have been plenty of high-profile shootings. But I would say, like, so there are two important pieces of legislation that majorly detract from the protection argument. The first of these was the assault weapons ban. It was passed under the Clinton administration in 1994, and it had a 10-year sunset clause, and in 2004, we allowed it to expire. That's what allowed for the increased rise of AR-15s to circulate through society. The second is called the Dickey Amendment. The Dickey Amendment made it completely forbidden for the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, to study the effects of gun violence on its population. So, for the past 20 plus years, the federal government has done no research into the effect of mass shootings on its population because you are not allowed to use research into gun violence for political purposes.
And they absolutely would.
But this is inherently a political issue because it involves Americans and lives and politics, so you're in a catch-22.
Well, I guess for me, I'm on the fence. I'm not a proponent of banning guns. And it's not that I'm like a pro-gun person. I'm just not really an anti-gun person. I don't feel like guns are necessarily the problem. Do I feel like easy access to guns is a problem? Yes, I do. I do. I don't feel like, fix your face. Why? I don't get the face, T.
You have to go through an entire background check. Like
how long does that background check take?
Depends on
it
the
depends.
person.
It depends on
Let me tell you what. Let me tell you what.
And let's be
You
clear,
literally,
let's not act like people who don't have a good background don't have access to guns in America.
We're not talking about those people. We're talking the people that they're talking about.
How can we not? How can we not?
I'm talking about legal ones. Listen. Like, there's people who I know who have guns who absolutely should not have guns. Period. Just by their goddamn behavior. But this let me tell you what. I was telling my mama this the other night. It's funny because my background check for me to get a job at a hotel took longer than her background check for her to get a weapon. For me to work at the goddamn front desk. Yes, sir. Your checkout time is 8:55. But I needed a background check for that shit. You don't need a background for that 9mm. Nope, you don't need. You do, but it's like it'll be done in a few hours. My point is like your background check to get a gun is gonna be done. You can literally go get your hair done and come back, and you can have a gun.
Evaluation for you to get a gun.
And that's my point. That's my point. Gun control. I do not believe in banning guns. I do believe in the right to bear arms for the reasons that everybody like. I'm gonna sound like such a tinfoil hat person right now, but I do feel like you need to have a gun, to protect yourself for all the tinfoil hat reasons, right? But do I feel like it should be that easy to obtain a gun? No, because even if you look at the man who shot up King Super, everybody in their mom was like, "Oh, bro, he's crazy. He was mad all the time. He was angry. He hated everybody. Oh, and we just gave him a gun. Well, clearly didn't nobody talk to nobody he knew, because within that same day after the shooting, you had like reports of all these people who knew him telling people how like horrible it was that he had a gun. So my point is, it didn't even take a lot of effort. It didn't have. That's your background. Your background is not just background checks. What people? That's what I'm saying. People are saying background checks. Background checks are simply, have you been arrested?
I know.
Or have you had any sort of mental hold on you from a judge? That's it.
I'm aware.
And that's not enough because
we already know that the justice system is biased against certain people. So certain people are going to have certain backgrounds versus other people.
Yep, and the people who are getting these guns legally, the people who they talking about, who are getting arrested, they're not gonna get no goddamn legal gun. What are you talking about? And I get it. That gun violence is a problem too. The reason that, and somebody said it to me today, why is it that we don't talk about people having illegal guns? We do. The problem is no one disagrees with that. No one disagrees with you that illegal guns should be harder to obtain. We just can't, like, there's no laws other than the laws that are, you make harsher laws to, like, what are you going to do? And I know for a fact, like, if as a felon in the area I am in, if I get caught with a gun, I'm facing 5 minimum. Period. that they're harsh about gun laws. My point is like they do what they can, but there's nothing to really just there's no steps in place. People who want to break the law are going to break the law. We're not saying that making harsher gun laws is going to make it impossible. We're saying that it would put more safeguards in place and save more lives. Gun violence is not going to be outlawed because of a few laws. Like, people are still going to do what they do, but I bet you would save a lot more lives if you did. I think James wanted to say something.
So I think we have a larger societal issue, and one of the big issues is that young men fetishize guns. And when a gun becomes a fetish item, and fetish items like guns infiltrate society, they become, I mean, you have a bad day, it's an easy thing to take out your anger on other people. But I think we've glorified that in our Hollywood culture, and in our video game culture, and in our law enforcement culture, and in our culture. So it's a norm.
Before I want to mention this comment that Mo just said, but before I say that, I heard this really incredible policy that I think we should adopt. It was brilliant. It was breathtaking, and I never heard anything better. It said the law should state that you got to win 4 fights before you can buy a gun. That's to me, it's like, yeah.
Fight is going to help me if I hunt.
No, this is why. It'll prove that just because you in your feelings, you're not gonna go shoot somebody. No. you ready to take that fade. That's how I feel about it. It's like, I feel like a lot of these motherfuckers who go out there and shoot know they gonna get their ass beat if they really just go square up with that motherfucker who they mad at. Like me, I know how I can fight. I can look at a motherfucker a few minutes and know, like, I can take him, I can't take him. And I'm okay with admitting that there's a lot of motherfuckers whose asses I can't kick. So if I'm in the presence of somebody whose ass I can't kick, maybe I don't need to talk as much as I'm talking. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't want to admit that. Like, it's a lot of motherfuckers out here just don't know how to move. And then when they get their feelings hurt, they go and do stuff like what we're seeing. Like, let's be clear. But I'm just joking about the fight thing. That's just a joke.
Hey, can I just say, somebody fact check the Obama shooting versus Trump?
Jenny.
Well, I like what I think his name is Nathaniel. He said, well, of course there's going to be less shootings under Trump because he only had one term.
Every year, Trump is almost double what Obama is in his worst year.
Did he cite the source for that?
I don't know.
It's easy research, man.
It probably is. Look, I'm so tired of y'all. Can you cite the source? Google.
Hey,
Mark, I want to hear what Mark got to say.
Google. Let's hear from either Mark or Amanda or PJ. Y'all are like chilling.
I want to go after Mark because I want to see what Mark has to say.
Okay, Mark, did you have your hand up? Mark, when it gets to about this point in the show, I just get real hyphy, so you gotta pull me in. Go ahead.
So 2 things. One, since we're talking about mental health, somebody asked in the comments why I always seem to be smiling. I actually got a mental disorder myself. I've got borderline personality disorder. So at some point in the day, I'm like really depressed, and sometimes I'm really manic. And this time of the day, it's like I'm manic a bit, so I smile a lot. It's my mental disorder. Second thing, my party actually has a solution for mass shootings, sort of. It's a 2-tier solution. A lot of things in my party are 2-tier solutions. Number 1, mental health care, proper mental health care. Part 2, state-mandated militias. Like, even a city like Tulsa only has 800 police officers, less than 800 police officers actually. I think with a militia we could get like 3,000 militiamen just in Tulsa. And it's like, and policemen only they're only on predefined routes. Like, a militiaman could be at any McDonald's, anywhere.
I don't know, man. I think more guns is not the answer for America, at least.
I would cut back on unemployment.
But people with guns kill a lot more.
The National Guard acts as a standing militia because it's under control of state governors. That's exactly how it's designed here in the States. So we do actually have standing military for that purpose when it's needed.
We literally have not only the 4 branches, 5 branches now. Thank you, Space Force. Now we got 5 branches. I'm sorry, it's a real thing. It's funny. We got 5 branches of military, and we got the Coast Guard, the National Guard, and the whole police force. I mean, it just sucks. Like we have to. I think we have to stop thinking of like reactionary solutions. A militia is a reactionary solution once the shooter is active. But then by then, 10 people are dead. Like this motherfucker took out 10 whole lives. That's 10 mother, brothers, you know what I'm saying, before someone was there. And even by the time a first responder got there, he died. We have to start thinking about what we can do to not have those 10 people because I'll be honest, the response to that shooting at that grocery store was actually pretty decent. They got there pretty quickly. It just so happened that it wasn't quick enough because he was able to get in that place, unload his weapon, and take 10 lives. And so to me, I'm just like, what is the solution that we can do to make it to where people can still have their guns? Because I don't think that everyone has a gun is a criminal and is going to go do something like that. And for all those people who think, I know there's leftists, Democrat, whatever you want to call them, that are like, get rid of the guns. I don't think that's smart because I know for a fact that like people are still going to try to break into your house. People are still going to try to I get it. I don't think you should take the guns. I do think
let them have the shit. Fine, take my TV. I don't want to kill you.
Oh, you can't just come up
my
with my
TV.
house.
Come and get it.
No.
Hey,
No.
let me say this. I wasn't sure if I should say this, but I am a permit carrier in the state of Georgia, so I understand the responsibility of taking that handgun out when I choose to do it. I also recognize where I shouldn't take it. I personally, I think there should be less guns because most people are never tested under stressful conditions and don't know how. Like Dirk had mentioned, we don't know how these people are going to react. And this idea of a good guy with a gun is bullshit because that's asking bolt of lightning to strike twice in one place. You want a bad guy with a gun to be in the same place as good guys with a gun. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right, but I don't agree with part of that though.
I mean, where was the good guy last week in Atlanta?
Owner.
Where was the good guy in Colorado?
But I will be honest, I've seen plenty of video.
In El Paso, because that's only an hour away from me, and I have friends and family that were literally right next door when that shooting happened. People that were in the parking lot that I personally know, and the guy who shot at him or somebody, he saved people's lives because he was a gun owner carrying his weapon. Yes. And so we're talking about a small population of people who are shooting and doing mass shootings to this much of a population of people who are actual gun owners who understand that responsibility. So like you said, again, I've been a gun owner myself personally for 10 years, and I do not pull my weapon unless absolutely necessary. If I feel that my life is in danger, which has only happened one time by the grace of God, that I have ever pulled my weapon on someone with the intent to shoot them, right? But that's something that you get as a responsible adult. But we're talking about a small amount of people who are killing people. Yeah, I saw the statistic numbers that they put up there. They're not in the double-digit thousands. They're not in the triple-digit thousands.
No.
This is where, I was with you until the end, T. I'm gonna let Amanda say. I'm gonna just say this. The reason I'm with you, only reason I'm gonna come back is because I feel like we have to get out of that mindset as it's not that many people. No. Because
I live in an open carry state, Amanda.
I get you, but if my mama was in the goddamn grocery store, that one life would be enough for me.
Well, we also have to understand those 19 or 10 shootings were times at least 4. It's not defined as a mass shooting unless at least 4 people have died.
Right.
So you're talking about even 5 mass shootings is at least 20 people.
I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying that it's okay. But what I'm saying is that the thought is that we're imposing laws on people who it's not the majority.
But we're not. I think the thing about it is like that's what I'm saying though. T. It's not about gun bans. I think the proper thing is like, what is wrong with finding out that I want to? It's like this. Like everybody getting this vaccine. I can't just wake up today and get the vaccine by the end of the day. I gotta call somebody. I gotta get on a list. I gotta wait. I gotta get screened. They gotta know where. They gotta prioritize me. And then all of that, and then they call me when they're ready, when they're, and that's okay. Like, if I want a gun, and I plan to be responsible, what's wrong with waiting? Like, what's wrong with waiting? Let them do a thorough background check, really vet my ass, and make sure, like, what's wrong with waiting? If I'm going to be a responsible, and I get it. You're like, I want to be safe for my family, and, you know, what if something happens in the meantime? Totally get that. However, I'd much rather, because that robber, unless they're somebody you know, ain't gonna know you don't have a gun. So my point is like, why not wait if you're gonna be responsible anyway? I would want to know that the other people having guns were just as well vetted as I was.
And I do not disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. And what that all boils down to though is that stuff costs money. So every time you do a background check for somebody, I think it's like $35-ish. For one person, depending on your state.
But let me say this:
talking about a regular background check.
But how much does a funeral cost?
Psych eval. If you're doing a psych eval, I'm not saying. I'm just giving you reasons why they probably are not doing these things because of the cost of it. If you're going to do a psych eval on somebody, you're going to have to run that through their insurance, or they have to be willing to go through that because that's their personal health information.
Right.
Information has to be, they have to release it to you, because if not, that's a HIPAA violation. And so all of these other things that are semantics, which is probably why they are not doing it. I know I can pass a mental health screening, right? And so those are not things that I would be concerned about in having to wait in order to do that. So I'm not in disagreement with you there.
So I'm gonna let James go, and then I'm gonna do a recap of all of the events this week, and then we're gonna go to a commercial break. James.
All right. So I think we have to look at guns as a right versus a privilege. And I would point you to Germany on an entirely separate issue. In Germany, if you want a driver's license, you take driver's ed until you pass driver's ed. And it can cost 2,000 or 3,000 euro, depending on how long it takes you. It is a privilege to drive in that country. Then again, cars are expensive. So if you want to drive, there is a high barrier of entry to the market.
Right.
We should do something. So one of the issues we have in society generally is that society is built as a reaction. Always a reaction and never an intention. And because of that, we create these problems down the line that started as something benign and with good intentions. And so we have evolved society to a point where we are stuck at the end of this road that has resulted in a mass shooting mass shootings are the norm. Mass shootings in high schools are the norm. Mass shootings in grocery stores are the norm. Mass shootings from hotels onto crowds below, the norm. Is that what we want our society to be?
Right. All right, Mark, can you make it fast?
Yeah, I still think my state militia idea is a good idea because the National Guard isn't deployed permanently, and it would create a lot of jobs too. So it would cut back on joblessness, and so less unemployed people means less people who are unstable mentally. If they
listen, Mark, after this, me and you need to have a conversation because in this whole show, you've given me so many dope ass topics, and I was like, what the fuck am we gonna talk about? Because honestly, the whole militia idea, like, I get what you're saying, but then the problem is you're just giving men power and guns, and we see what men in power and guns, who they fucking kill in this country. So, so to me, as a black man, I'm like, no, don't arm another group of goddamn men with fucking guns, because then they're just gonna.
Maybe they could pass an additional mental health check.
Unless it was like an all-black militia, but you know they ain't gonna do that shit. So
we could.
The last all-black militia was Nat Turner.
Look, they're not about to do that. All right, so we're gonna go to. I'm gonna do a quick recap of the stories that we didn't cover. The first story we didn't cover: Virginia became the first Southern state to abolish the death penalty. Ralph Northam, whatever his name is. He's like, he's the governor, and they found the blackface picture of him. Ever since that picture, he made marijuana where it's not illegal no more. He done abolished it. He's like, please, just give me another term, please, please. So there's that. This one I really want to talk about. A Utah governor signs a bill to ban porn on cell phones. It got signed. Now, the bill does not go into effect unless 5 other states enact similar legislation by 2031.
Is that even possible?
Yes,
in Utah, yes.
This is why. Because Utah is very Mormon, right? But here's the caveat. This is why I think it's legal. The filter can be removed, but you have to pay a fee. So the way the filter would work is it's supposed to be basically stopping children from accessing porn. So the filters automatically come on the phone. If you buy a phone, it automatically has a filter. You can only get it removed if you pay money, $20 to $40. And then, then you can have the filter removed. And I just thought that was interesting that you have to pay to get the filter, not just prove that you're an adult. I think that's all you should have to do. I'm an adult. Here's my ID.
That's not a way to prevent kids from not accessing porn. That's a way.
That's a way to
make money.
To get money.
And to stop people from doing what they deem bad. There's a whole. They also were the first state to. I see you, Armandillos. They're also the first state to deem or verify that pornography is a public health crisis.
More than guns?
That's how we got cornflakes.
Yeah, they were the first state, which means there's other. I think there are like 17 more states that did that. Albrandios?
They show porn on regular television now. So
like porn?
I mean, not porn, but it's close enough.
But it's not porn. Porn, it hit different.
They're still fucking. I mean,
yeah, but this is my thing about it. Like, I didn't have the internet, and I saw my first porno, and I was like, hey, I didn't want. So I don't.
Maybe if adults spoke more openly with the children about sex education and how the shit really works, we would have an issue with porn, and we could treat it respectfully and have respectful, consensual, good quality porn that people who want to perform in it do, and people who
not
want
good
to
quality
watch it do it.
Yes, we would have an issue because not everybody believes that porn is a good thing. So you still.
But there's the thing about it. Like, if you don't like porn, don't watch porn. Like, let me tell you what I don't like. Lifetime.
ESPN.
So I don't watch that shit. Plain and simple. All right, the next one. Jay Leno apologizes for his history of Asian jokes. He thought them to be harmless, but he's now apologizing. So is Scarlett Johansson for her history of problematic things amongst Asian people. She took that role in that movie about ghosts where she... No, that was Charlize Theron. She took a role in a movie that I guess it was a book and the character was supposed to be Asian. And she also took a role as a transgender man, but she turned it down once she found out it was problematic. But they're apologizing. Amanda Seales drags Kevin Frazier. The reason I want to bring this up, Kevin Frazier, after having his sit down with Sharon Osbourne, decided to tell Amanda Seales, of all people, his dumb ass, bruh, Amanda Seales, you know she's gonna come for your neck. And a group of other black women that they should sit down and have a summit with white people to educate them on oppression. And Amanda Seales went off on his ass. If you haven't seen that video, go find it. It's hilarious. And then the last current events lightning round. The number I have is 172. I have 1,722 Republicans. I don't think that number is correct. I think the number is 172. I don't know, typo. But a lot of Republicans voted against the Violence Against Women's Act last week. And I wanted to know why, so I went and found out. They went against it because it also protects transgender... They went against it because it also protects transgender women from violence. So they felt like transgender women did not deserve protections from violence. Like, okay, you don't agree with transgenderism, but like, really? From violence? We don't want to protect people from being murdered? Okay, cool. Anyway, that's lightning round of current events. We're going to go to another ad break. And during this ad break, we're going to watch a short video, which is for Flirting with Destiny. Flirting with Destiny is the first ever self-produced series from Nelly Media featuring 3 beautiful actors. And I'm just going to give you all a sneak peek. Our GoFundMe is open right now. GoFundMe.com/F/Flirting with Destiny. And we're trying to get to $5,000 so we can film this summer. And we need your help. Here's a sneak peek. Let's get up close and personal with the cast and creative team behind Nelly Media's first ever self-produced web series called Flirting with Destiny.
So, Nelly Media, Nelly Media, yes. It's going to be doing a new series, Flirting with Destiny. That's not going to be the theme song.
Flirting with Destiny is a show about friendship, about the trials and tribulations of dating and trying to make it in this crazy world while still holding on to your close friends.
This is something that's more young, hip, funny, dialogue heavy with a magical twist.
I've already read the script for the first episode. I'm not giving away anything.
You don't really see this kind of content centered around POC writers, characters, and it's really dope to be a part of this process.
I think it's really different. I really love the script.
Funny. It's legitimately funny. I enjoyed it.
I think it's just a really good feel-good comedy that still has some drama elements in it as well. It's also Black and Asian females in this story, so finally we have some more colored people coming up in narratives. Let's support that.
We need your support, whether that's financially, whether that's sharing the news of the project to get it out to people.
Any little bit will help. We'll be so appreciative, and eventually we will be presenting to you Nelly Media's very first self-produced project, a web series called Flirting with Destiny.
So here we are, so excited.
You're on mute.
I said that was how I was going in. That was Flirting with Destiny. I said, please hook us up. $1, 25 cents, 55 cents, and a smile. We'll take any little bit. We are raising funds. We're trying to do this. Remember, Nelly Media at its core is a place where artists can come and thrive. And I want to tell stories. We want to tell stories that aren't being told. Everybody knows I'm a big nerd, a big geek. And growing up, watching stuff on TV, I never saw me. I mean, of course, it wasn't me, but I never saw T. You know what I'm saying? I never saw PJ. I never saw Brand. I saw Brandeos a few times, but he was always a thug. You know what I'm saying? I'm just playing with you, bro. I'm just playing with you. But right, and essentially, I want to show more of that. So please help us out, support. Even if you don't have any money, you can support by just sharing the link, spreading the word, helping us out. All right. So now we're going to get into the main topic of tonight, which is racial stereotypes. I wanted to have this conversation, and it's funny because of what happened with the guy, the Publix. I'll be honest, when I was sitting at home and I was like, oh my God, somebody shot up this Shoppers. Everybody and their mama was like, it's a white man, right? It's a white man. Because statistically, white men are the ones who perpetrate is that the right word? Perpetrate? Yeah. These crimes. And then you had the thing that happened in Atlanta at the Publix. When I saw that man, when I saw it was a black man, bruh, I was like, I really want to see him. Like, what's going on? It's crazy because I was really like, man, he must be having a really bad day. I shouldn't say that. But it's because I could never understand. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me that this black man would be contemplating doing something like that, because it's not something that we're known for doing, right? So it's interesting that these things happened right now that we're about to have this conversation, because I think it's important to discuss racial stereotypes in a multitude of ways. Like, there are some racial stereotypes that are quote unquote harmless. I have friends who would say no racial stereotype is harmless. Understanding that they're rooted in truth is one thing, but then even flippantly saying certain things can be oppressive. And I know we want to use that word. It seems like we're using that word like so excessively today. But really understanding like where a lot of these stereotypes are rooted, where the roots are, is important because then you understand why they're so problematic. So I want to have a conversation about them. And I want to start by asking, I want to go around the circle and I want to ask everybody, what do you think? What's a stereotype you've heard about you that wasn't true? Let's go with T. If you don't have one, you can pass and we'll come back to you. And you're muted.
Wrong button.
Yep.
That I'm an angry black woman. I'm not angry, I'm passionate. And there's a difference.
Okay. PJ?
Sorry, you threw me off with that last comment, T. I was taking some notes down as far as, the racial stereotype. Skip me for now, Dury. I apologize.
Okay, that's fine. James?
You're muted.
You're muted, James.
I was an infantry officer in the American infantry. The stereotypes of an infantryman are that you're a thug, that you like guns, that you're straight, and that you're hyper masculine, bang bang pow.
James, it's supposed to be a racial stereotype.
So you talk racial stereotypes? Hi, I live in Asia. I live in a society where they don't want a teacher who is Asian because the white face is shinier, and they want to have the prestige of a white person teaching their kids. So I've been the beneficiary of racial stereotypes in this society.
Okay. Albrandios? We'll come back to you, PJ. I see you. Albrandios?
Stereotype is not true. I'm not sure. I don't think I have one, really.
You've never been told a stereotype about you that wasn't true, or someone thought something about you that wasn't true?
I mean, I get that I'm a whore just because I'm attractive, but
Yo, where I live in the Twilight Zone sometimes, I swear. Okay, I mean that's not a racial one, but if that's what you got,
it's not racial, but
you
racial
really
is
don't
like,
get.
you like fried chicken or watermelon because you're black. Like,
Okay.
so,
All right. Okay, I'll take that. Amanda?
I hate to take one that's already been said, but the angry black woman, that is like a big one for me. Because if you're
People say that about you?
When I get opinionated about things, yeah. Because if you're a black woman and you're opinionated and you have thoughts that you want to share with people, then you're angry.
Oh, tell us yours in the comments too. Like, I want to hear y'all's. Like, tell us in the comments what's a stereotype you've heard about yourself, or even someone who aligns with you that is untrue. Mark?
Well, I've got so many since I'm such a mutt. Let's start with Sicily. That's where my maternal granddad is from. They say all Sicilians are in the mafia, which is, I guess, kind of true. At least my granddad was in the mafia.
Okay.
I'm actually related to Paul Castellano. That's my great grand uncle. He's a famous mobster.
Look, don't say too much on here. I know we don't got that many viewers, but you never know. They be watching.
Okay, there's then the British one, overly polite,
Thank you, Sam.
gaily, colonial, arrogant. I'm not a big fan.
Now, that is actually one I didn't think about till you said it, but I do think most British people are arrogant. And I literally didn't think about that till right now. We, the people, need to... Tristan, you're really going to get banned from all Nelly Media platforms. You do that all the time. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I need to play this again. Nelly Media is not responsible not only for the comments of our panelists, but also for the comments of our guests. You are making people feel uncomfortable, sir. Please quit it. Thank you. All right, Sam.
I'm still not done. I'm not done.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, Arab terrorist, obviously. I'm not a terrorist. Jewish, money hungry. I'm not money hungry. German, Nazi or overly apologetic. I'm neither Nazi nor am I overly apologetic. Yep, that's it.
Got you. Sam.
Hello. So I have a few. Um, I dance. I have rhythm. I dance professionally and I taught dance at a high school. So in Atlanta. So one of the first questions when I met parents, they would be like, I would be introduced as a dance teacher and they would say, "You're the dance teacher?"
Yep.
I say, "Yeah." And they would say, "Can you dance?" And I would say, well, what I wanted to say was, no, they pay me to do this, but no, I can't dance worth shit. But I would be like,
Yeah, I'm just here. I'm a space filler.
yeah, I was like, yes, I can dance. Anyway, so that's one. No rhythm is another one, obviously. Liking mayo, but that's true. I love mayonnaise. And I can't lie about that shit. For a
Whoa.
long time,
Delayed effect. You like mayonnaise that much though? Like I'm cool with mayonnaise, but you said you love mayonnaise.
It's good with French fries.
I've never met nobody who loved mayonnaise. It's
No,
like
I fucking love. Well, I love sauce. Period. Like
okay.
When I have wings, I gotta get the hot sauce and the lemon pepper sauce, not just the sprinkles, the sauce and the ranch. Okay.
Let me tell you, if your wings aren't messy, then you're not eating wings.
Anyway, that's another story. Okay. Oh,
okay.
On to the stereotype of cooking. And yes, there's another stereotype that white people can't cook, or they don't season the food, or they don't wash their meat.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. White people in the South are exempt from that stereotype.
Correct.
Period. Like, because they've been around, like, listen, no. White people in the South are exempt from that stereotype. So are Italians. And to be honest, another group of white people, who are exempt from that stereotype. I'm going to go back, Sam. I know, another group of white people who are exempt from that stereotype, surprisingly. Germans. God damn, can they cook? Oh my God, German food is so good.
I would say Italians, but
I don't really consider Italians white. They might consider themselves white, but I don't.
I like Korean food.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Indian.
Another one is that white people don't discipline their children.
Tommy! If you're gonna go to timeout, you're gonna go to timeout, Tommy. I'm gonna send you straight to timeout.
If we're talking about stereotypes that I don't fit into, I just have to bring that one up. So
it's funny you say that because a lot of these stereotypes I didn't realize I had until y'all said them. Because I do think British people are kind of like that was the one that's blowing my mind.
I got another one. I have a mixed daughter. Another stereotype that I don't fit into is I don't know how to do her hair because I do, and I hook that shit up. And that, excuse me.
Listen, if you have a mixed race child and you don't know how to do their hair, like the best you can do is learn.
Yeah,
like it's not like these things are right.
Yeah, I taught high school, so I would talk to I have students I still keep in touch with. Like one girl was just over here, right? Like before I was on the podcast. And, I talked to my student. Yeah, I was showing houses and I had a babysitter. Excuse me for trying to take care of
for living your life. Who said you can do that on Thursday nights?
Anyway, I'm saying that, yes, I have a mixed daughter and I don't have the same type of hair, but I talk to people that do and I ask them questions and I made sure to get the knowledge so I would figure out what to do and I know what to do now. But I still stay open to suggestions.
Sam. Okay, so PJ?
All right, so the initial question was like positive stereotypes, and I'm of the camp that there are really no positive stereotypes, right? Like Asians, good at math, good. We all know kung fu. No, at the end of the day, it's a shitty thing.
Not kung fu.
And you know what else sucks, Derry? I've actually spent years with martial arts, so do you know how ridiculous it is when somebody asks me that ridiculously bigoted question, and I'm stuck going, fuck, I do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
With our stereotypes, Asian men have historically been viewed as like soft, sly, effeminate. We're after white women. That seems to be a big thing, right? Going after white women. And with Asian women in particular, what happened last week, you got to think about the contact that colonial powers have had. From the very first moment they got over to Asia, there were comfort women, sex slaves, created for people. And so European contact with Asian women has been reinforced through that. And so today we're still grappling with that fetishization of Asian women. We're seeing we're seeing Asian men on screen now who look freaking awesome, right? They're buff, they're kicking ass. But even a few years ago, Romeo Must Die with Jet Li and Aaliyah.
Yes, good movie.
I didn't know this until the other day. They changed the ending. The ending was supposed to be Romeo kissing Juliet. They tested that and they said, nope, we can't do it. So instead they gave each other a nice hug at the end of the movie.
Yo, let me tell you, my pet peeve with that movie is exactly what the fuck you're talking about right now. I'm like, why aren't they romantically linked in any way? Like,
he's like 30 years older than her.
Nah, fuck that bullshit. You know why it was. It wasn't about no age. You know exactly why it was. And what's crazy is, if there's one group of people that love Jet Li, it's black people. We would have totally been okay with him kissing the princess. We love Jet Li. What do you mean? But, okay, so let's talk about stereotypes in general. I think it's interesting to consider where all these I gotta say my stereotype. Racially, I feel like every stereotype I've heard about me is true. Other than that I'm violent. I'll go with that one because I'm not a violent person. I'm one of those people that might incite violence because I got a slick ass mouth. You know what I'm saying? But also, I'm very smart, so it's like I know how to push a button to where a motherfucker's so mad that you basically punch yourself. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, but my point is like I don't ever incite violence. I don't believe in violence. I know it sounds weird because I said I believe in guns earlier, but I don't believe in guns in order to incite violence. I believe in guns for protection. I do not believe in inciting violence. I don't believe that violence should be the answer to everything. I do think that sometimes violence is the answer to things because sometimes people don't learn unless they get their ass kicked. But I don't feel like I'm an innately violent person. You know what I'm saying? I don't just want to fight. That's the only stereotype I can think about. That because I'm black, I'm a man, I must be like super rowdy and super violent. I'm low-key a hippie. So the reason I want to talk about these stereotypes, and I'm glad that we have like a nice mixture of people here, and we have a few people, I want to say like, I know for a fact, I don't know if I can say this, but I know there's some people on the panel who are mixed race, and some of them have mentioned it already on camera, and it, you know, it's weird, like, because I'm acting like I'm acting right now because I'm not mixed race. And I don't ever want to like speak for another person. So, but I assume even being mixed race, there's even more stereotypes attached to being mixed race versus you have to deal with being mixed race and being those races separately. Because, you know, I'm assuming that as a mixed race person, you identify as all and not just one or another. But so I want to talk about first the history of these stereotypes, the effects that it has on us in how we interact with one another. Is there a such thing as a harmless stereotype? That's where I want to start. So considering all those things I just said, history of stereotypes, how we interact with each other, is there such thing as a harmless stereotype? James?
No, and here's why. Stereotypes rest on the assumption that there is an in-group and an out-group, and the out-group will always get hurt.
Okay, wait.
Do you want me to expand?
So a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Well, I would look at this. I was raised Mormon, okay? So in the Mormon world, you have to adhere to a certain set of standards and norms, and if you deviate from them, you fall outside of the expectation of a Mormon, and therefore you are on the out group. And if you are on the out group because you are a woman who seeks power, or you are a woman who doesn't want to be marginalized, or because you're a gay man who doesn't want to toe the line, then you can no longer receive the benefits of the society of your youth. And you look at this in any civilization, like Korea, for instance. Korea is a monoculture. There is 98% ethnic Koreans in this country. So those people who are not ethnic Korean, and even if you leave the country for any length of time and return, you are less than. And that has real-world implications in every way of life.
But I'm sorry, what is mono Asian?
Monoculture, so that means there is one ethnic group in the country. And so, like, Asia is much more explicitly racist than America is, I feel. Like, for instance, the government last week declared that all white people working in Gyeonggi province, which is where the province that Seoul is in, must get tested for COVID. So they did a big roundup of all of the white and black people and had us go to our local health clinics and go get the picks shoved up our nose so we could get tested. Why? Because we're a soft target.
You said white and black, so they didn't target whites.
They targeted foreigners.
Okay, well, I
not
don't know.
Koreans.
Americans haven't really demonstrated the best practices. So if I had a clean shop and you wanted to come in, I may ask you to go. I know when I travel through the Middle East, I go through extra security.
I will tell you
It's a
this,
reasonable
though.
thing for an organization to ask of people.
In Korea, the main drivers of the COVID numbers have been Christian people who have a powerful lobby in this society, who like to turn off their phones and drive to churches and meet shoulder to shoulder and sing and shout and spit and do things like pass the communion by putting the cup up to your lips for every person. And so when you do things like that, your risk of spread is much higher, whereas we, the white and, the non-Asian people who are guests in this country, realize that we are guests and try to respect the country and its norms by...
But it's not just white.
No, it is non-Korean. Non-Korean. Non-ethnic national Korean.
I can't promise that you can't prove that. You can only prove that non-Korean citizens.
I can tell you that the American embassy got involved saying, hey, this is explicitly racist, stand down. And they did.
But I want to interject because I feel the energy, right? And I want to say this, like, it sucks when our people are being racist. Well, not racist, but when our people are being prejudicial. But sometimes that shit happens, like, and it doesn't mean that you're prejudicial, but I know that sometimes, like, it's been very difficult for me in this last week to have conversations because I'm very much like stop Asian hate, period. Right? But then you get the people who are in the black community who say, that's not our fight. Stand down. Don't involve yourself in, okay, I see. Don't involve yourself in that. But to me, it's just like, but why? And then you would have those people go, well, Asian people don't. And like I told y'all before the podcast how I felt about K-pop, right? Yeah, I feel that way about K-pop. But stop Asian hate. like stop, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I mean, I feel that way. I don't like appropriation, period. However, murdering a people just cause, like, no bueno, period. And the reason it is my fight is not because I'm black or Asian, because I'm not Asian. It's not because I'm a man or a woman. It's because I'm a human motherfucking being. And if that was my mama or grandmama, because y'all realize some of those people who got killed were in their 70s, right? So those weren't just like people they're trying to characterize those people who got killed as sex workers. And I mean, I'm not saying you being 70 you can't be a sex worker. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying like it doesn't fit that narrative. And that's another narrative. That's another thing we can talk about stereotypes. Like, why it's crazy to me that people want to, because this killer decided to call these people, oh, they're sex workers. We believed it. Not we. People believed it. They just believe, oh, yeah, they're sex workers. What evidence do you have that they're sex workers? Keisha said that facility was working legally. Like, what? He said they work in massage parlors and they're sex workers. I've been in a massage parlor that was not at all like they was doing goddamn nails and shit, and I got a little facial, a regular facial. Anyway, but my point is, like, just because a place has those things doesn't mean that they are sex workers. That the fact that you're so willing to adopt that this man's narrative that these people being Asian makes them sex workers, that's a problematic stereotype. And it's problematic because of that, we want to look at these women and these men and that man in there and say they must have been there doing some shady shit. That takes less pressure off of the guy who decided to randomly kill 8 people. Whether they decided to go into that.
Can we go back to just the basis of if it's a sex thing, it's okay, but if it's a race thing, it's not?
Well, what? No. Yes and no.
I'm not saying it's not
yes.
Okay. I'm not saying you're saying it's okay. I'm saying that people are even comparing the two, like one is excusable and the other is not.
Right, Sam, which is why I'm saying yes and no, because people don't realize this. 2 things can be true at once. Let's say they were sex workers, which I don't want to say because I don't honestly feel like there's anywhere near enough evidence to say that these people were sex workers. Like, one of the people, like 2 of the people who, like, not one of the women who was killed was there on a couple's massage with her husband who's in another room. So, like, I mean, I don't know, like, if it was a sex thing and they were in there together, when they've been in there together, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me, right? But 2 things can be true at once. A man could absolutely have targeted, it could have been a misogynist, sexist, racist attack. It could have been all of those things. But the stereotype says these women were here making money, doing sexual favors for white men. Therefore, they were a temptation. That's a harmful stereotype. And it's hard, and people don't realize how that's racist. They feel like in order to be racist, he had to hate Asian women. No, it's not. Racism isn't just about hate. It's about racial superiority. And part of that racial superiority is feeling like you have the right to objectify a certain group of people because of their race. And even sexually. Absolutely. Go ahead, PJ.
Yeah, I mean, I'd gone back to that earlier comment about colonial powers and that contact with Asian women. Right? It's hundreds of years old, and I'm not thankful that what happened last week happened, but it's validating to hear people, to hear you guys talking about this, to be on Twitter and to finally feel like, okay, we're being seen. Duryea and I had a brief conversation a few days ago, and we were talking about Black and Asian communities and the relationships, and and I wish I could just remember her name, but Yuri Kochiyama was an a Japanese American activist, and her mentor was Malcolm X. When he was shot, if you look, and I didn't want to share the pictures, but the picture of him laying on the ground dying, Yuri is holding his head, right? So we have been there with you guys, and there is no animosity between Black and Asian community. There may be pockets and anomalies. No, last year, check this out, last year, hate crimes against Asian Americans, 90% were white. Black community, less than 5% of the perpetrators of Asian hate crimes were Black. So I don't even want to...
Because that's not the narrative I've been hearing. I've been hearing a totally different number. Like, the last week, because it's crazy, because I've actually seen a lot of Black people. And I need to go back to you, Albrandios, because I know you had your hand up. I've been seeing a lot of Black people who have been advocating for Stop Asian Hate. And the response I've been getting, and it's crazy, the Black people who have been saying advocate for Stop Asian Hate are getting met by white opposition. I'm going to just be blunt. White opposition who are saying, well, y'all are more violent towards Asian people than us. Which is interesting because a lot of these people are specifically just saying Stop Asian Hate. They're not saying Stop Asian Hate at the hands of whites. They're literally just saying Stop Asian Hate. And the response they're getting is white people saying, well, y'all are more violent than us. It's like, we didn't even mention who was at the hands of any of this. All we said was Stop Asian Hate. So the fact that you're throwing race into it, it says a lot. But I want to go to Albrandios because he had his hand up before.
I was going to comment on you saying like black people saying it's
Fight and
not
fight.
our fight. Yeah.
Right.
Which I agree with because it's like you helping everybody else clean up their house, but yours is still dirty. You know, it's like we have our own problems within our own community we deal with, but it seems like we're always pushed to be acceptance to other problems versus taking care of our own.
That's interesting.
Interesting. That is interesting because I did not expect that to be your take. Amanda, you were going to say something though, please.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like in order to make things change and to see equality across the board, that everyone who is marginalized in some way or another has to come together and they have to support each other. There can't be this bickering and fighting because that's what they want. That's what the people in power want, is they want the people to fight each other and keep each other down, because the black people are saying our problems are more serious. We've been dealing with this since slavery. And the Asian people are saying we've been a silent minority in America and no one's been listening to our calls. We cannot be fighting each other because nothing will ever change. We have to support each other every step of the way, regardless of, you know, we can't play this game of who's hurt the most. You know what I mean? Like, it's too much time is wasted. It's useless to have that conversation. We all got problems, and so we all have to come together and we have to fight together. Period.
Can I ask you a question, Albrandios? So, would it be beneficial or a hindrance if we turned around and the black community supported everything gay? Not necessarily adopted it, just supported it. Like, cool, y'all deserve to live happy lives, and as long as y'all not hurt nobody, we don't care. And then Asian people supported blacks, and then blacks supported Asians, and then and we turned around and that was just the energy, right? Where it's just like, look, no matter who you are as an individual, your struggle is valid because it exists. Fuck whether it's better or worse than mine. Just it exists. Therefore, let's dead that shit. And because you're a person who deals with inequity, whether it be that you're a woman, gay, black, Asian, whatever that is, if I see you dealing with inequity, I'm going to step in because I deal with inequity too. And we're going to fight that shit together. Period, point blank, no questions. Is that something you think would be beneficial? And I hear what you're saying, because I do agree that all communities need to make sure that they are doing housework. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree. I don't feel like you should just look outward. Absolutely. But I also feel like two things can be done at once. I feel like you can do your housework and at the same time make sure nobody's breaking into your neighbor's house. You know what I'm saying? So do you think that's possible?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. My thing was just putting too much energy into someone else's issues versus taking care of our own.
Yeah, why does it have
It's
to
not
be
like-
one or the other, though? I guess that's kind of how I see it. Like, it's kind of this argument, like, it's all or nothing, you know? And I don't think that that's true. I think that you can be concerned about your people and your plight and your struggle, but then also be concerned about other people's. Because at the end of the day, if we're not free, they're not going to be free. No one's gonna prosper at the end of the day. And so I think it's not one or the other. You can be concerned with bringing your people up and then bringing other people up with you too.
I agree with that.
Talk it out. Okay. Okay. Great. All right. So I really like that moment because I think it's important to. This is why we do the show, man. Like, I agree with everything that's been said on this panel because I do feel like as a black person, I notice the plight against black people more prominently. Duh. Why the fuck wouldn't I? You know what I'm saying? Unless I was Candace Owens, but that's a whole nother conversation, okay? So, look, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that I can't sit with another person and then acknowledge that they have similar plight, right? And I really appreciate that. So, back to stereotypes. And I really want to dig into this question about harmful stereotypes, because I feel like some of here stereotypes are not harmful. I was trying to avoid saying that since it's my show, and I try not to be opinionated, but that never happens. I literally sit down here every show and be like, all right, Duryea, you're not going to have no opinions tonight. And then by the end of the show, I'm like, God, you got a lot of opinions, nigga. So, I feel like there are some stereotypes that are not harmful. Not the chicken and watermelon one, because I know that's rooted in white supremacy. But I feel like this is a stereotype that I don't feel like it's harmful. That I have rhythm. That I can dance. I don't think that's a harmful stereotype. It's true. Most black people I encounter, even if they can't do a whole like pas de bourrée, glissade, ensemble, right? They can't do all of that, but I bet they can. You turn the right side, oh shit, and they can do one of these real quick. Hey, but there's certain other races that you turn the song, oh shit, and it's just like no, you know what I'm saying? So I feel that's not a harmful stereotype. So I want to dig into like why we feel like
but
that.
Isn't it though?
How is that harmful?
You're an entertainer.
Because
You're an entertainer.
what that implies is that.
But I wasn't born an entertainer. I'm not Beyonce.
No,
what that implies is that you're meant for entertainment. You're able to do those things for somebody else's entertainment.
Let me tell you what. My mama can't dance to save her life. If somebody gave my mama an 8 count and said, if you don't do this 8 count, you dying, we would be planning a funeral. However, when the song come on, when Lenny Williams when the song come on, she can get that sway. She can do she can get the sway. Like, she got rhythm. She can't necessarily, like, do the dancing, but she got rhythm. And I don't think that, I don't really know many black people. They exist. I've encountered, like, a few of them. But
that's what it all boils down to, is that ability was meant for our master's entertainment, or whomever our owners were. We were a possession that provided an entertainment to someone because of the ability to do a thing.
I see what you're saying, but I don't see how the fact that we are a naturally rhythmic people is negative. Albrandios?
But most people can be naturally rhythmic. I'm sorry. It's not specific.
Hawaiian people are very naturally rhythmic.
Correct.
Let me tell you, Hawaiian people are very natural, in my opinion. It is a stereotype.
Your use of the word natural. Maybe culturally more dance is involved, but to say somebody is naturally more inclined to dance or something, I'm uncomfortable making that leap.
Okay, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. I really hope I'm not making people uncomfortable.
It's just a weird way to say that, right?
Well, let me put it into context. White people dance too.
Yeah.
The waltz, did no black person or person of color come up with that shit. Maybe they did, and I'm wrong, but nah. But I feel like, okay, but that's a white dance, you know? White people do what's the dance that they do when they like don't move their arms and legs and they like
it's Irish dance.
Irish dance, yeah, like that's not the jig.
No, it's
but
like the yeah.
Yeah, it's just the legs, right? That's dancing.
And river dancing.
Yes, there's plenty of river dancing. There's plenty of dancing that happens with white people, you know? But
that's rooted in superiority and religion too.
How?
Irish dance, look it up. Ireland was oppressed by England for 800 years. Expression of their religion was limited.
Okay.
And that is one of the facets of its oppression.
So what we're saying is, and I'm not trying to be funny, I know it seems like because I'm smiling, that oppression causes...
like the Baptists, okay? What can't you do if you are
right, it causes people to like find other ways to express themselves.
Right, humans
and that is
often
in movement.
Look at the whole
okay,
entirety of
I can actually, I can take that. I can take that. Mark?
I don't know if it's a harmless stereotype, but it's a kind of true stereotype based on the fact Ashkenazi Jews, so since most of them descend from only 4 women and the icy wasteland of Far East Russia, they share some specific features and genetic diseases actually. Like many others, specific overbite, discolored eyelids, and kind of large noses often.
But that's not stereotype. I'm sorry, you weren't done. Go ahead.
like I can show you a photo of Carl Sagan and Ayn Rand, and you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference because they look like twins in a way.
Do we consider genetic normalities stereotypes, though?
I mean, they make propaganda
Yes,
posters,
when it
so
comes
is
to
stereotype.
Asians, we have.
Let's have that conversation, because, you know, every race has genetic normalcies. And when I say normalcies, I just mean, like, not that everyone has them, but there's certain things about us that are, you know, general. Like, black people have generally nice lips. I'm not going to say full, but our lips are generally popping. You know what I'm saying? So, is that a stereotype? I've never met a black person with like, I've seen some crusty black lips, but I've never seen no flat ones. You know what I'm saying? Just like non-existence. You have? You have?
I think, but here's what I think though. I think we should definitely get PJ involved in the conversation, because we do physically stereotype people based off things that we assume are genetics. Like, all Asian men are short, all Asian men are not short, and all Asian men are
I'm
not
6 feet
created
tall,
equal.
which is not super tall, but
It's above average.
Right. And
The average is like 5'8", right?
Are we going to call that genetics, or are we going to say, yeah, that is kind of sort of a stereotype that we place on people?
these are anomalies within these groups, right? I mean,
You're saying being 6 feet is an anomaly?
These, because there's always these outliers. Every rule has an exception. So most Asians tend to be shorter. Cool. And then I was walking through a Bangkok market a few years back, and I remembered how stunned I was when I saw a man's chest walk past me, and I was like, he's tall, and I turned around, it was the tallest Asian guy I've ever walked by, and he had me by a good 6 inches.
Right.
Right?
I hate tall dudes.
Human.
I hate tall dudes, especially when they stand near me. That pisses me off so bad. That's the quickest way to piss me off, for real. If you're tall, like, stay the fuck over there. I get what you're saying, though. Like, I've never really...
Stereotypes, yeah, these physical stereotypes are awful. And yeah, slanted eyes or big noses or, you know, curly hair. It doesn't really matter. It's shitty to put that on people. And you guys saw it in the private group. I sent you guys that name of that person, Gomez something or other, Zerara. He was a Portuguese, I think he was like a writer or historian, and he was commissioned by slave traders to write a book that was going to be like a gift to the Portuguese king or the royal family. That's the first time black became racialized. Like, you can research it. He's the first European to write about like negative stereotypes about black and brown people. That's the first time it occurred. I just thought I'd share that with you guys so you could run around with it.
That's the first time it was written down.
Written down. Like, yeah.
You like it? Go ahead.
That's it.
If you're good, I was gonna jump in because I think I wanted to get back to what you were saying in the beginning about are there stereotypes that aren't harmful?
Right.
I think there's different levels of stereotypes. Like, there's some that aren't as bad as others. Mm-hmm. But I think at the end of the day, if you go back to like what stereotypes are, is they're overgeneralization about a group of people and that share the same identity of some sort. And so if you look at it in that way, you're overgeneralizing whatever it is. Can be harmful to someone if you think of it in that way. And so like you were saying about like black people with nice lips, there are some black women that don't have nice full lips and they feel very, very bad about that. There are
Okay. I just had like 20 epiphanies, and I hope she's not frozen.
Oh no!
Damn it!
Oh no!
Especially when she was about to go off, and you felt it too, right?
Yes,
you felt
I was
it.
waiting.
Okay, she'll be back. But I agree with what she's saying because because I just thought of like 20 stereotypes where I was like, yeah, like those, like I can't play basketball. And I was in the military and I was sitting outside next to the basketball court, like I think I was smoking a cigarette, and dude was like, "Hey, you want to play basketball?" I was like, "Oh no, I suck at basketball." And he literally was like, You suck at basketball? You can't play basketball?" And I was like, "No, I can't play basketball." And I felt so like unblack. You know what I'm saying?
I can't breathe.
Like I was like, I can't. Like I literally like Me holding the basketball looks like a man holding like a newborn baby. It was like dripping. Never mind. All right, Brandios.
I think it depends on the person and being stereotyped. Like for instance, like being a black male, you're more athletic. If you tell me that, yeah, I'm gonna be cool with that because I am athletic. But like some people, like I have a little cousin and he's big, so of course they're gonna expect him to play football. But that may not be what he's into, you know. And I told him, hey, just because you're big don't mean you have to play football. You can do whatever you want to do. And I could tell he needed to hear that. So I think it just depends on the person. Like, you know, if you're not into basketball, yeah, you're gonna feel away because we're gonna be laughing at you like, damn, you don't know how to play basketball? Like, where you grew up at? Where you from? So, but you know, coming at me, I hoop. So yeah, it just depends on the person, and that's the insecurity.
And the stereotype. I mean, to pick Broski off of that, like it depends on the person and the stereotype. Like for you, you know, being athletic, that's cool. But to maybe a black person that likes to play video games is harmful.
I mean, I agree because, like, I think it's like when you try to maneuver in this space where you're supposed, when you try to maneuver in a space where you're supposed to be one thing and you're not that thing. As a black dude who grew up like not being the thing black dudes were supposed to be, and it wasn't just about my sexuality. It was also about like I wasn't interested in. I didn't really dig into rap music until Nicki really Minaj started rapping. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't. Like I was cool with it, but I didn't dig into it. I'm still not dug into it. You know what I'm saying? I'm dug into the City Girls right now. I'm not gonna lie. But my point is,
in love with Carisha.
Right. And then, no, let's be honest. I was in love with Carisha. I was in love with Carisha. You shut your... I was in love with Carisha. Wait, what happened? Oh, Sam. Oh, there she is. My bad. I don't know what happened. Rakia, stop that. That was Rakia. That wasn't me. So, I was in love with Carisha, and then JT had the nerve to get out of jail. And now I'm just like City Girls for life, period. But anyway, my point is like, it took me a long time to get into... Yes, you did, Rakia. Don't lie. It took me a long time to get into rap. And like, at the same time, as a black person, every time... I was in jail, bro. That's all they talk about. I'm ready to have a conversation about who can win a sing-off between Keke Wyatt, Jennifer Hudson, and Beyonce. These motherfuckers want to talk about Lil Uzi Vert. I'm like, who? Literally, I was like, who? A nigga named himself after a Uzi? And people like, literally, it was like you had 50 dudes in the pod who I didn't even know were in ear reach go like this. You know what I'm saying? And I get what you're saying. Like, it does make you feel somewhat like you're not a member of the club because of that. But is that problematic?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like, are you that
sensitive? Your identity has to be one
that
thing.
you care?
Well, it's awkward.
You care about that?
The only time it bothers me, I'll be honest, the only time it bothers me, like growing up, it was weird having black dudes tell me out. Black dudes, well, black girls would tell me too, but black girls it's different. Like black girls, like I was always accepted by black girls. Black dudes never really accepted me, right? So as a kid, yes, it frustrated me. As an adult, it frustrates me when other people of other races question my blackness. Absolutely. It pisses me off because it assumes, like I've had so many people who aren't black tell me that they were blacker than me. And I said I wasn't violent earlier, but that makes me want to fight somebody. Because it's like the assumption that you can claim blackness. Like it's just so insulting. Like, why? Like, tell me why you're blacker than me. Because you talk a certain way? That's insulting. Because that says that we all have to talk like your dumb ass. And we don't. We don't. So, like, it makes me mad. You know what I'm saying? But we don't. And I hate when other people of other races be like, oh, you think because you can't seem to find a belt that you're blacker than me? Fuck you mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? And it makes me mad. So but the way people think about me, no, like, because at the end of the day, I'm 30, so there's a lot of black dudes who play video games. There's a lot of black people who go to nerd conventions. There's plenty of us who do all kinds of stuff, and you realize that as you grow older. So I just had an epiphany. So I can understand how, especially for a younger person, these stereotypes can be problematic for all the reasons we're saying. You know, growing up feeling like I had to fit into these stereotypes, and I really did feel like I needed to. I had a lot of issues with myself, and like, you know, because my brother fit every rung of the black man stereotype, literally every one of them. And I'm over here like, what's up, bruh? Dude? You know, I'm doing all this shit. And my brother, like, people literally used to ask us if we grew up in different houses. And so, I get what you're saying. T?
I think James had something, and then I'll go after James.
James?
Thanks, T. I would just say, another example of this is happening in American politics in the Latin culture, Latinx. So political strategists had viewed all people of Hispanic origin as one massive ethnic group. But they all come from Venezuela and Argentina and Chile and Colombia and all over the world. And they have, you know, all these different reasons for being, which drives their reasons for voting, which surprised a whole lot of people. Because they don't realize that people from Cuba have different beliefs and reasons for believing them than people who came from the Philippines. And it cost people a lot of elections last year.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that they want immigrants to come here so that they'll vote Democrat. And I'm like, specifically Hispanic immigrants. And I'm like, bro, do you not know how many Hispanic conservatives there are? Like, what are you talking about?
It don't work that way.
But okay. T?
Okay, so as far as stereotypes go, I have been the worst. One of my dearest friends, she's like a little sister to me. She is biracial. And I tease her all the time, like, girl, you are not black. But I didn't realize how harmful that was. And I've known her for a good 9 years. I didn't realize how harmful that was until maybe about a year or two ago. Like, I would say things to her like, you're black and you ain't got no rhythm. Like, what in the world? Or just little things that in my mind are like, well, yeah, stereotypically, black people should have rhythm, even if you're half. And I didn't realize how much damage I was doing to her in the process, because she's not one or the other. She's both. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we don't realize that the stereotypes that we have about our own people, especially those who are of mixed race, can be just as damaging. And then on the flip side of that, I too was like you growing up in high school. I really felt like I had to toe a line between being a little bit hood, because I grew up on Cleveland Avenue. Like, there was a certain posture that you had to have.
Absolutely.
And all
Especially
the black people I knew
Cleveland.
were one way. But at the same time, I like alternative music. Like, I used to be into Yellow Card and like Cartel and like all kinds of stuff like that. Like
Sam,
BRD,
who is Yellow Card? Oh.
That's a stereotype right there. Right there. They made the song Ocean Avenue.
I ain't even gonna lie. I don't know.
The All American Rejects. I remember when Panic at the Disco first came out. Like,
I love Panic at the Disco.
I can quote that CD like backwards and forwards. Stained. Right. Like, I'm talking about get in your spirit. Like. Mm-hmm. But I felt like I couldn't
grew up on
express
Pastor
that.
Troy.
We know you grew up on Pastor Troy.
I did too, but there was always like a balance that I had to toe, because it's like, well, who do I express to that I like this type of music, but then I also like this type of music, but then I also love.
But it's crazy because what's crazy to me is finding out like the hood ones, like they listen to alternative music too. Let me ask you a question, Brandios.
Yeah.
What genres of music do you listen to?
I love all music. I'm an artist, so
it's crazy. Like, and that's the thing about it. But we felt growing up that we weren't allowed to have these experiences, and so I changed.
Overall, we were not, based on stereotypes.
Based on stereotypes. Okay,
so based on what you're exposed to. Like, if we grew up in Atlanta, it's the biggest city. So we're exposed to a lot more than somebody who grew up in Bumfuck, Mississippi, or something like that. You know?
Okay. Okay. Touche. It's true though. Like, we are, like, especially in Atlanta, people don't realize like
they only see a certain type of black person.
Right.
So
Yeah.
somebody like us, they're gonna look at us like, oh, you bougie, you think you better than us. No, I'm just educated.
We
Like,
just know, we just
you
have
know what I'm
seen a
saying?
lot of
We've been
different stuff.
exposed
Right.
to more. I've been to more places, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm different, but that don't mean I'm less
I
black
see you,
than
PJ.
you.
PJ, and then if you want to chime in, Mark, feel free, because I know that we haven't like swooped around to you. So PJ.
I was thinking about this, and Jessica just made a comment, and I want to take a moment just to reply to it. She says, right, like rich white culture and poor white is not the same thing, but people don't see that. And let me say, Jessica, I absolutely do recognize that there's a difference because it's that power structure. Rich white folks created the power structure, and not every white person has access to those same things. So there is a difference, and I recognize that there's a difference. But the powers that be have played that game. During earlier about the black on black crimes, black on Asian crimes. Why is it when we talk about Asians being killed, the first thing they do is they go, well, hey, what about the black guys? And they're like, wait a minute, that's not what we came here to ask you about, right? Or when you guys went and said, hey, we don't want you to kill us, they turned around and said, but you guys are killing yourselves. Like, so
are y'all.
That was my piece.
So are y'all. Who kills more white people than white people? Nobody, baby. Period. So
Historically.
Right, at all. So what are you talking about? Mark?
Okay, I just want to talk about my experience a bit. So I live next to the Swiss border right now. Next year I'm moving to Florida, but right now I'm living next to the Swiss border. And there's a lot of racial profiling going on actually. So I'm normally 100 pounds lighter than I'm now.
Quarantine thick. They got a whole song about it.
No, the meds, the Joker meds. I'm on BPD meds and they fuck everything up. I used to eat like 2 pounds of chocolate a day when I started on the meds. Yeah. So yeah, when I'm thinner, my beard kind of grows in a very Arab way. So people racially profile me at the border when I cross. I have to cross every day because I work on the other side of Germany. And there's one side of Germany, then there's the Swiss border, then it's like Swiss border towns, and then it's Germany again. So I get pulled out often, and they ask me whether I have a knife. One time they asked me whether I had a bomb. It was nuts. So yeah, that's the thing. And they have this term over here, secondos. So secondos are like secondary born, like immigrant born, and yeah, that's a thing. So yeah.
Yes. I mean, having the conversations we've had before, I get. It's interesting because, like I said, as a black person, not as a person, it's easy to get like tunnel vision on your issues. And I think that's a big problem that we have as people is that we get very tunnel vision on our vision. We get tunnel vision on our issues as if our issues are the only issues that persist. And of course, since they're our issues, we're going to claim that our issues are more important. Like, who in this pod can say that group of people's issues is more important than mine because I'm a woman or I'm a gay person or I'm black or whatever, right? It's just like, yes, no, it's not about ranking whose issues are more important. It's about saying they're all issues that should be addressed, right? So it's interesting hearing, an Asian person speak, a mixed race people speak, gay, straight. We've heard all of these voices. There's less spaces for this, and I like encourage anybody who's watching, listening. And I know it's not like a huge audience, but like it's really important to get to the point where you're okay sitting in a space with another person sharing their trauma and not comparing it to your own. Like, if they can let them share their fucking trauma, like, it's still goddamn trauma. It might not be your trauma, but it's still trauma. And they should be free to share theirs and know that their trauma is acknowledged. Like, you don't have to fix it. But just be like, yes, trauma. And then embrace them for the fact that they're human and they have that trauma. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, so going back to the whole idea of like, it's not our fight. Everything is our fight. In my opinion. Everything's our fight because remember that story I was telling earlier about the reason I be nervous when I go to the barbershop? it's because so many people feel like, well, I'm a straight man. That's not my fight. So even a person who's in that like, let's say for instance, you're in the barbershop and the dudes do try to decide to be violent towards me. It would take straight people in that situation who decided that it was their fight too to stop me from getting possibly murdered. But if they decided it's not my fight because I'm not gay and the gay community doesn't have as much trauma as the black community, then I would just be a dead ass person. And even though I am a black man and we talk about protecting black men, do we protect black men when they're gay? Do we protect black women when they're gay? Do we protect, like, at the end of the day, the idea is that, like, all of these people deserve that same protection just to exist. Now, you know, if you're doing something to put yourself or others in harm's way, it's a different thing, but just to exist. So I think it's important that we kind of eliminate this struggle and this race to decide whose oppression is more or less oppressive, and just admit that there is oppression, there is trauma, there are these things, and we as an individual, if we see it, we should never turn a blind eye to it, because that's the death of something or someone. Almost even you, because if you believe in karma. But yeah, so James and then T, and then we're gonna go to final thoughts.
Two quick things. The first, I think that listening is a skill that we need to actively develop. We are far too eager as individuals to talk, to respond to others.
Is that shade to me?
No, I mean, to your point, because we want to connect. So we like, oh yeah, well, you have trauma, I have trauma too. But there is more power in just listening.
Right.
And that is a skill that needs to be cultured through practice. My second point I forgot, so hi T, floor's yours.
My husband and I have a thing, just to piggyback off what James said, like, whenever one of us wants to talk, we'll ask before the other person starts talking, do you want me to listen, or do you want me to listen to with the intent of responding? And so whenever I say to him, I just need you to listen, then he'll just listen. And then when I say to him, I would like for you to listen to respond, like, tell me what you think about a thing. And then he can give me that. But we had to learn that behavior. And it takes a lot of, like, because initially what we want to do is we want to just relate.
Respond.
Right, because we want to relate to it. Or, yeah, I've been through so-and-so and so-and-so, but not all the time do people want that. And so I'm learning how to do that in my other interpersonal relationships now, because that's a practice that I established with my husband. Moving right past that, really quickly, I think I mentioned, like, the last time I was on the show or whatever, or either we were talking backstage, but I'm going to murder his name. His name is Martin Niemöller. Maybe. Oh, no. I'm going to kill it. Anyways, there was a poem that he created that was from the Holocaust, and it's super quick. It's first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. We need to take that as a whole world and utilize that. That's why Asian issues are our issues. That's why Latin issues are our issues. That's why any minority group, period, issues are our issues. Because if we don't speak out against those things, then nobody's going to be there to speak for us. Just like the reason that a lot of Asian Americans got the rights that they got is because they started being passed civilly for other people, right? Like getting the rights to vote and things of that nature came based because women got the right to vote, white women, right? And then they got to throw things in there because of that. So they're all interconnected, whether we want to believe that or not. So we not saying that we have to take it on more than our own social issues, but it needs to be an inclusion, like, no, I stand in solidarity with you on this issue, to where it's not, oh, that's an Asian thing, or that's a black thing, that's a Spanish thing, or a Latinx thing. You know, it all needs to be a thing. If they can keep us divided, then we don't have time to be focused on what it is that they're doing and the laws that are being passed. That's why they throw so many things into laws, right? When they're doing this stuff, it's a packet that's like this thick. Sometimes that stuff can be like 187 pages and 300 pages worth of things that they're reading through. I'm making up numbers here, but they're really, really big when they're passing laws. But it's the little stuff that we don't see because they keep us focused on this issue, like right here.
Well, damn it, Mark. That was such a great place to leave on. But I'm going to let you go ahead and have your... Go ahead, Mark.
No, I just want to say his name is Martin Neumüller. And
Thank
he's
you.
He's a Lutheran pastor, or was a Lutheran pastor. Yep.
Okay.
Can I speak my final words?
We're gonna do a small commercial break, which would be like a minute, and then we'll come back and do final thoughts. I love your enthusiasm, though. It's awesome.
Don't you miss waking up on a Saturday morning, eating a bowl of unhealthy cereal, and watching funny characters in your PJs?
Yeah!
Lucky for you, there is D&D Episonicals. Watch as a group of misfits set off to face the dragon of Ice Spire's Peak. You'll meet a retired professor that is certainly not petty.
So as I leave the room, I piss outside on the wall.
A turtle who lives off the power of friendship. Stop licking my friends! A half-demon businessman.
You know, if there's a payment involved in that, obviously you don't have farmhands to pay.
And an archer with a heart of gold.
If it's dangerous, I'll just shoot it.
Join us Saturdays at 10 a.m. CST, only at twitch.tv/Master of Realm. And by the way, I'm the DM.
That was twitch.tv/Master of Rem Alternis. They do a whole bunch of dope ass at their channel. They do D&D episodicals. They do Shadowrun RPG missions where you can find me. A lot of fun stuff happening there. The other ad was from Pretty in Pink Bundles. You can find them at prettyinpinkbundles.com. They got your 30-inch. They got your Brazilian. They got your Indian. They got your hair oils. They got everything you need. And remember, good hair is the best revenge. All right. Now it's time for final thoughts. The final thoughts is where we just go one by one and we talk about our final thoughts. Final thoughts are either what you want the audience to leave with, what you left with, or just final impressions on the entire conversation. You can speak on anything from our current events to our main topic and just let us know how you feel. Mark was so enthusiastic, so I'm going to go ahead and let him pop it off.
So I'd like people to contact me on Facebook. Support the United Revolutionary Workers' Party. Let's grow this into the Grand American Party. Let's make America really great. Inshallah and Godspeed.
That's what you took from the conversation, Mark? Okay. Okay, you know, that's your final thoughts. That was Mark. So, next, let's go to... I'm going to go to Amanda.
Yeah, sure. I really enjoyed having these conversations, and I think something that I wanted to also say really quick is just kind of speaking to the stereotypes again. Me, you know, being someone who's of mixed race, my mom is Puerto Rican and my dad's black. Like you were saying, sometimes with mixed race, you can kind of, I think, sometimes we can really see a lot of the stereotypes and we can get it from both sides. And I think that kind of helps us sometimes to be empathetic and really want to kind of band together with other people, because you've got family on one side who's saying you're not Hispanic because you're too dark and you don't speak fluent. And then you've got your black family who's saying that you're not black enough, you don't talk like us, you don't hang out with us. So I think a shout out to all the people who are mixed race out there, but I think that it really brings like a different perspective to the conversation.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your final thoughts, Amanda. Let's go to James.
So I want to share with you the words of Ocean Vuong. He's a mixed race Vietnamese second generation immigrant.
Okay.
And he's a writer. And he says, in America, in this culture, we celebrate boys through the lexicon of violence. You're killing it. You're making a killing. Smash them. Blow them up. You went into that game with guns blazing. And I think it's worth it to ask the question, what happens to our men and boys when the only way they can value themselves is through the lexicon of death and destruction? So I think as we look at the entire array of issues that are confronting us, maybe we ought to start with our language. Thanks.
It's not customary, but yes. When I say customary, I mean for me to comment right now because it's final thoughts. But yes, because I think that's the question. People feel like, I keep hearing people say, oh, you're too sensitive. People today are too sensitive. Language is very important. People don't realize how violent and how deadly language can be. Even if you don't kill somebody, your language could literally be the spark of a motherfucker to go kill some people. And you don't realize it. Excellent. So let's go after that. Let's go to Albrandios.
I appreciate y'all helping me get a better perspective on the whole not my fight thing, because I actually, see it better now. I think as people, we need to learn to just let people be and just live in your truth. I think a lot of the stereotypes or the hate crimes comes from insecurities within ourselves. And so we lash out at other people. So I think, it should be a combined unity with the human race, no matter what color or ethnicity you are, to, people are people. Everybody is an individual. You are who you are. So you shouldn't be judged. Seek to understand before you place judgment.
Seek to understand before you place judgment. That's a t-shirt. Great. Get that. You better get that coin. You better copyright that. That was Albrandios. Great. What's the name of your podcast again?
I haven't started yet, but Above Restricted Thoughts. So it's like a lifestyle. It's like living outside of the box. I feel like society, based on your social class, or your ethnicity, you're placed in a box, and your thoughts are based on the things you indulge yourself in. So I feel like we need to get out of this box society places for us and just be who you are. Let everybody be who you are. And I feel like if you live in your truth, nobody can use it against you.
Excellent.
And if you completely know who you are, you're not worried about the next person or what they're doing. It doesn't matter.
I like that. But I also think that we as individuals have to create spaces in which people can be that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's beautiful, but are there spaces where people can go into and just be their authentic selves without fear of any sort of repercussions or reprisals? And what can we as individuals do to create those spaces for people so that they can live that freedom? But I do agree. Okay, let's head over to the lady with the plan, Sam.
All right, so I think I've been, I think I listened a lot this time, but I want to say a couple things. James, to your point, you talked about the language around boys and how they're socialized. And I think when we're talking about America, someone mentioned it before, but not unfortunately, but the truth is, white males have the most privilege in America, and then someone added like Christian, heterosexual, and like wealthy, I guess, or something else. Yeah. But anyway, needless to say, whatever the privilege is, I think if we can take it away from, because I think the point that was made around this go around is we all have privilege in some way. Whether it's by class, whether it's by race, whether it's by sex, whether it's by like who we're attracted to. In some way, we all have some privilege, and we all have some, I guess, well, maybe we don't all have some disadvantage, but most of us do. And so I think if we can start to all stop being so sensitive about our preconceived notions, right? So, like, I believe all white people are racist if they are born in America, because the way racism exists is through the systems in America. So if you are born in America, you're socialized to be racist because that is how our country was built. And it doesn't mean you hate black people. It just means you have preconceived notions that were banged into your head unconsciously about certain groups of people. And if we can stop being so sensitive about the word racism, or, you know, being sexist, or being this or being that, and just start to understand people are people. And if you are born in America, you do have preconceived notions about other groups of people. And if we can start being honest about that and being real about that and having open conversations about that, I think that's where we can start to have the change. But if we just keep being so sensitive about all of this stuff, we're never going to get anywhere. So that's my final thoughts.
Excellent. I agree. I like your final thoughts. But somebody remind me, because I'm going to forget, to respond about the sensitivity. See, I almost forgot that quick. So somebody remind me to respond about the sensitivity. All right.
Wait. Sensitivity in regards to the
Specific
oppressors.
Oppressors being too sensitive about. Okay.
Yes. Let's be very clear. I'm talking about specifically white people being too sensitive to being called racist. You know, straight people or super straight people or whatever, you know, being homophobic.
Look at Mark.
Religion, you know, and you know, whatever the majority or the oppressing group,
right?
Feeling sensitive about being called out about it.
Right. Okay.
Karen.
I still want to mention something, but it's a different mention now. But I got you. Great.
Okay.
All right. Let's head over to PJ.
Okay. So first, I want to, Amanda, thank you for your comment on mixed ethnicity people, because that's something I'm just in the last month coming to grips with also. Like understanding how I fit into all that and how I'm informed by the mix of those two cultures. So I really appreciated that. And I think everybody here was stunned with what you said, and then your camera froze.
Oh, yeah.
So you missed
Sucks.
us all, like, rooting for you to get back on. So that was my first thing. But so the question was, are there harmless stereotypes? And there was only one mentioned tonight that you might consider harmless or has a positive effect. And that was the one that Koreans have about white educators. They want to have a white tutor educate their children because it shows status, it shows a lot of this stuff. So the question is, why is it that white people are regarded so highly in these places, right? And it's because of the racist power structures that they put in when they came in and effectively colonized all these countries a few hundred years ago. So that's a positive effect, but I'll bet you it still harms the Koreans, because how many Korean tutors aren't getting jobs? So with that being said, I think stereotypes are just heuristics. They're a fast way of making decisions, but they're also a crappy way of making our decisions. And maybe we should spend a little bit more effort accepting the people as they are when they approach us. That's it.
Excellent. And, you know, let's head on over to the other lady with a plan. Positivity.
Let's talk about this Korean debate offline, because they were not necessarily colonized by white people as much as they were colonized by Japanese people. And that is where a lot of their damage was done to their culture.
Speak on
so let's talk about that one offline.
I agree offline.
Yeah, let's talk about that one offline.
There's also...
Again, what I would love
side note, everybody who, I'm sorry to cut you off, everybody who is mad that we about to talk about stuff offline, that means you need to be a panelist, because every night after we get off of this, everybody who's up for the late night, we sit here and we do an unfiltered version of this whole show. We don't have to worry about the internet recording our asses. and we just
2 hour time difference.
and we just talk as much as we want to. So if you want to get that unfiltered after hours chat, then you need to be a panelist. Admin at wonellymedia.com so you can be with us. Go ahead, T.
As usual, what I would love to leave with people is just being mindful and respectful about the words that you say, because words have power, right? All of them. Good words and bad words. Good words have the ability to build worlds, and bad ones have the ability to destroy lives. So let's just be mindful of that when we're coming to these conclusions about people and stereotyping them, because as much as we do not like it, other people don't like it as well. And finally, what was it that I wanted to say? No, I think that was about it. I try to be as respectful to other people's, or you should endeavor to be as respectful to other people's opinions, whether or not you agree with them. This type of forum and this ability that the panelists have had to respectfully disagree is needed more in the world. Okay?
Period.
And so the fact that we can all come here and respectfully disagree, I'm hoping that the people who are watching this also pick that trait up and learn that ability, because it is not something that we are as Americans are taught, period. It's something we have to learn through our life experiences. So I always appreciate, you inviting me or having me be a panelist on your show. And I appreciate these types of dialogues because they are important to have. And whether or not you agree with what the topic is or what the situation is, being able to express yourself and having a safe place, period, is important.
And I'm going to piggyback off of that before I do my little wrap-up spiel. Yes, because I think it's important. Like, I don't agree with Super Straight at all, but then also I could still, after he said that, having I get how some people can see that as problematic, because there are people out there who take this negativity and run with it and turn it into something violent. I'm not saying, and none of us are like supporting hateful behavior and violent behavior. What we're saying is that it has to start somewhere, and right now you see a lot of venom and vitriol like spewed when people try to have these conversations, because it's all about, you disagree with me, you're a horrible fucking human being. And at the end of the day, like, how does that help progress? And I'm not judging you if your way of activism is not like my way of activism. I'm okay with that. But I do think that the dialogue starting to happen can help, because maybe I didn't change somebody's mind about Super Straight, but you even heard Albrandio say, like, his whole mentality towards my fight, your fight has shifted. And that might not seem a lot, but his mentality shifting, in the future, he has children, their mentality shifts. It is a ripple effect. It is not something that's going to happen necessarily in our lifetime, but the work starts now. The work will ripple throughout our generations, but it has to start with stuff like this. So if you get a chance to have a conversation with somebody, a real conversation, not no bullshit where you just want to disagree and disprove somebody and own a libtard. None of that shit. But if you really want to have a conversation with somebody, I suggest you do it. And I suggest you come at it as if you're talking to yourself. Meaning with that same love and care and listening that you would have, that you want somebody else to have. All right. That's not my final thought, though. So before I say my final thought, I want to thank everybody for being here. You guys are fucking awesome. Thank y'all for being here, and also thank the audience and the viewers for being here. Not only for being here, not only for watching, but also for commenting and in putting your personal experiences, your energies into this speech, into this dialogue. It is very important. It is what keeps this show going. It is also what makes this conversation important, because it's not just a conversation between 8 people. It's an open dialogue amongst people who want to have open dialogues. Please, anybody who's watching, including the panelists right here, go to YouTube after this and like the video on YouTube and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Comment on YouTube. Just be like, hey, XYZ in the third, whatever. Yes, hook us up. That helps us get our engagement up. That helps us get to a larger audience. so that we can really start to have conversations. We can start to attract some more people who don't think like a lot of people on the panel. Luckily, we're starting to see like a lot of differences of opinions. We have right wing, we have conservatives, we got left wing, we got liberals, we got moderates. And we really want to show that these type of conversations can happen, because clearly the people who we elect can't have these kind of conversations. So we got to do it. So let's make that happen. And that is up to y'all. Thank you so much. Please also, that's it. So my final thoughts. I think everything that was said tonight is so freaking true. I wanted to do this topic because I really like talking about stuff like this. And it's not for any negative reason. I like talking about stuff like this because I think it's important for us to check our own biases too. You know, as social justice warriors, which I feel like a lot of us are on this panel from different angles, we so often don't check our own biases and our own humility and our own, and having a conversation like this and then realizing like, yes, I totally think British people are arrogant. Would have never thought that before this conversation. And I know it's funny, but I really did. And I didn't even know that. My point is, we think we don't have biases. Then someone says something like that and you realize, oh my God, I totally feel that way. So put yourself in uncomfortable situations with people that aren't going to attack you if you can, if you're lucky enough, And as a whole, don't cheat your wife and then make her apologize to you in a video. That's rude. And then apologize to her forcefully. Don't do what that motherfucker did. And we're going to talk about that more on Sunday, Sip and Kiki. And then also, what else did I want to say? If you disagree with a person's sexual orientation, who they have sex with, X, Y, Z, and the third, as long as they're not coercing you or forcing you into sexual acts that you don't want to be involved in, just leave them alone. Just leave them alone. Please. That it's as simple as that. It's not about like accepting, blah, blah, blah. Just leave them alone. At the bare minimum, the least you can do is just leave them alone. That's really what I want to leave this with. There's too many people dying, and they're not dying for the reason that the narrative says they're tricking this. No, they're dying because half of them are walking down the street, or more than that. So please do no harm to people who are just trying to live in their truth. I love you guys. You're all awesome. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Talk It Out, a place where people of opposing views can get together and have a healthy, productive dialogue in a respectful way, keeping in mind that it's not always about proving who's right and who's wrong. Sometimes it's simply about listening and being heard. Have a good night.